We are red is on. Time being 4:45, and Selectman Scanlon not yet being in attendance, I would ask that you join me in pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First thing on our agenda is the minutes of September 12th. Move to the floor for discussion.
I really like the way that this was written under detail ordinances. Discussion, primary change has to do with fines, although enforcement is needed. A little bit more discussion on that one.
The very bottom of the page on the Finance IT Director, Tim Pearson, the second sentence, the budget looks somewhat less than last year's?
Yeah. 2018 to 28.
What page?
The first page, last paragraph, second.
But it's down by 53,000. How much is the budget less, Tim?
The next sentence is it may be flat.
Once we have our insurances,
That's an incorrect statement, though.
So the budget looks somewhat less than the 2019 budget.
27,464. Remember.
27,464.
But once insurances come out and all that, our best case would be flat, is what I said last week.
It sounds kind of odd on page 2 for it is a correct statement, but it seems kind of odd where it says in the second to the last paragraph under Finance Director, Tim mentioned wanting to contact the Rotary to have those funds returned to the town to be placed in the Capital Reserve Fund. Jeannie reported she had attended the recent Rotary meeting where they agreed to have those funds returned.
What page are you on?
Page 2 of FOA. Second to the last paragraph under Finance. It starts, Tim talked briefly about the charrette program.
Okay.
I mean, did he say,
He did say he wanted to. Remember we commented
Yeah.
and said, well, why didn't you start out with that? You said you wanted to contact the Rotary and split the funds out, and then Jeannie said she had already contacted the Rotary and they said yes.
No, well,
just
It's
Jeannie's
not
report
how I
came
recall it.
after.
We were having a discussion of whose idea it was, and it was, we had discussed it, come up with a plan, and so that was the task, to go to Rotary and request it.
But sitting here at the table, talking to the Board of Selectmen, you would,
Okay.
oh, I see what you're saying. You were just discussing whose idea it was, and then it came up and,
Well, I think Ginny was trying to give me credit, I was trying to say that it was us.
so we shouldn't put that in the minutes then.
Doesn't matter to me what you have in the minutes, as far as I'm concerned.
It just seems awkward to have it in the minutes that
I haven't read your minutes. So.
it clearly says, Tim mentioned wanting to contact the Rotary to have those funds returned to the town to be placed in the capital reserve fund. Jeannie reported she had attended the recent Rotary meeting where they agreed to have those funds returned. Very next sentence.
Right, which means that he wasn't aware that she had done that.
Oh, I was aware.
But this is under his finance report.
Right, but that is what happened, that was the
That's exactly
conversation.
what happened.
So if somebody watching the movie, that's what they're gonna see. My question is, and Tim may have said this just the way he said it, Tim mentioned wanting to contact the Rotary to have those funds returned to the town. Returned to the town. Were they the town's funds in the beginning, or were they Main Street's?
They were Main Streets.
They were Main Streets.
Main Street wasn't a town
Oh, it
organization.
was 501c3, okay.
Right.
So it was Main Street monies that,
Well, I
and
wasn't-
they decided to give it to Rotary.
I wasn't suggesting that they had originally been the towns and left and then come back and just say,
Yeah.
Well, it
return
says,
the.
that's why it says return to the town, but most everybody knows Main Street was independent
Right.
from town,
My-
so. But, and you may have said it, so if that's what you said, then it's correct.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And if you said it, you were
I'm not coming
incorrect.
up in your minutes.
I read these online, I find it matter. I can't find it now.
I think we should put one of Gail's words in there, under police building setbacks. What was one of those words that she put was, not excitable discussion.
Spirited?
Spirited discussion.
It was spirited. Make a mo-
It's down here after a lengthy discussion.
It was spirited. Make a motion to accept the minutes of September 12th, 2019 as amended, as corrected.
I'm not finished reading, thank you.
Second for discussion and finishing reading.
Only got one more paragraph here. Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we have a couple of things here. I would like to, well, I've never accepted anything like this before. Do I have to make a motion?
You should.
Yeah.
Just make-
I'd like to make a motion that we accept, the town accepts a donation of $100 from Kim Souls and Pat Constantino toward the mural project and paint supplies.
Second.
The only comment I would have is thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's very generous. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yay.
I'll abstain.
Motion passes, one abstention. I would also like to make a motion to accept a donation of $500 from Franklin Savings Bank for the October 26th Tilton Zombie Walk.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Franklin Savings
Thank you,
Bank.
Franklin
Thank you.
Savings Bank, certainly. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes unanimously. We're a little bit early here. Leanne Moynihan, would you like to come on down? Land use report. Please be sure, on Gail's behalf, to speak into the microphone.
So I thought it would be good to have Leanne come in front of the full board. And I think you've all met her individually, but I thought it'd be good for her to start getting into the habit of, just like the other department heads do, to come in and talk about what's happening in her department. And so Leanne is going to speak with you.
So thank you, and I think I have met everyone here. I think I met Peter, right? I think
Yep.
the one- yeah. So I've been here now just about a month, and I found this town very welcoming, and I appreciate that. Everyone I've worked with has been great. There's a few things that we've been working on. I've already had one planning board meeting and one zoning board meeting, so that's good. I have that under my belt now and kind of know the members of both those boards, so that's helpful. I am working on kind of trying to get my arm around the organization of the departments and how everything operates, and I think there is some room for improvement in that. So I plan to work on getting some of that to flow a little easier. I do have Sheena. I have one part-time clerk. She's now working 16 hours a week, and we have a lot of projects, coming along. So hopefully we'll be able to maybe get some things done, and I don't know, possibly maybe increase our staff a little bit. I don't know how that will go and how open this board is to that, but there is a lot to be done, and it is an active town. So one of the first things I guess that we're going to do in the department is try and relocate, which I know has been discussed with this board. I did take liberty of, I drew out a plan, if anyone wants to see how the arrangement will work downstairs with the space that we have. Randy, you have limited space here, both upstairs and downstairs.
You see this, Jean?
I have. So, obviously it's not perfect, but upstairs is really not conducive for a lot of reasons to the land use department. One, my office is right in the same room as your meeting room, which when you're having meetings, and there are a lot of meetings in the evening, there can be a conflict. There's really no privacy when I'm talking on the phone with engineers or projects, so it would be nice to have a little more private space. Also, all our assessing files are downstairs, and out of all the files that we use, both planning, building, and assessing are probably the ones we reference most often. So, and then we're constantly up and down the stairs with the public to access those files. So it'll be a lot better having that downstairs. So I'll let you look at it, and if you have any questions on how the layout works, I can certainly
So
explain to you.
where is the safe?
Yeah, so the safe is outside of this area. There'll still be a hallway. I didn't show the hallway, but
Where is the,
so if you look at the bottom, turn it
See the
around.
assessing
Yep,
files.
there you go. Assessing files are on the other side of the wall.
So below that. So
And
if
then
you
below-
turn it, if you turn
Yep.
it like this, Pat,
down here?
if you set it like this is the way it orients downstairs. Assessing files are on this side.
They're to the left of my signature, so I have my initials on the left
Okay.
in the left
Yep.
corner. So there's still a hallway space there. The files will still be on that side of the wall. They'll open out into the hallway, and then you can get to that safe.
Does this proposal include building a wall?
Yeah, I put the wall 6 inches. I guess we might not even need 6-inch wall, but I didn't know how wide the wall should be.
Elevator's right here.
When it's
The
all
elevator
said
is
and
on your
done,
right,
maybe.
right up here, where it says, if you follow draft
Yeah.
and go straight up, that's the elevator. So this,
You could get all that in there.
well, I mean, I've measured, I do have a couple smaller desks coming, which were donated by a nonprofit that Tim got. So I used the measurements of the new desks and blocked it out. Every 4 blocks is an inch, and I just measured the space and measured the desks. And I mean, it's certainly going to be tight. We certainly aren't going to have a lot of room in there, but we don't have a lot of room here. The square footage downstairs is just about the same as the actual square footage up here, but it'll be laid out obviously different. It won't be long way, it'll be this way. Yeah, and I have, 2 part-time people that aren't even here on the same days. So Al is here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sheena's here on Monday, Friday. So, I mean, even though their space is a little tight, they're not even here at the same time. So I think that will work. I think we can even get the copy machine in there. Hopefully, I measured that out and drew it, and I think the copy machine will fit. And I added a table because I really need some place. I tend to come to this table when I have engineers or anyone coming in with plans, and I have to kind of move your stuff around and lay out a plan. There's really no place to open up these large plans, so that's a little inconvenient. So it really would help to have a bigger table to work off of. So I put that in there as well.
And there can be storage under the counter, right?
Right, and then the plan is to make a counter here so customers can come up to the counter. I don't know if it
Okay.
will be angled or not, but
I'm missing where the door is to get into your...
right here. See, I see door, and I put an arm to get into the back section right here.
No. How do you get into the front section?
The counter will lift.
Oh, okay. And that's
I
the part
assume.
where I saw no door.
Yes.
I suppose there could be a counter flip thing.
That's what I thought we were gonna do, but I mean,
Yeah.
One of my concerns regards meetings. Third Tuesday, you've got ZBA and sewer. On some Mondays, it's parks and conservation. So we're going to be having to tell boards, I guess you got to meet on Fridays, because the Wednesday's the budget, where Thursdays.
Fire district would never meet here again,
That would be correct.
which the reason they were meeting here is because we asked them to. So they share between Northfield and Tilton. They meet here and then they meet in
I
Northfield.
think clearly you're gonna have to make, there will have to be adjustments in the meetings that happen here. And at the end of the day, and you know this, I don't have to tell you, but I'll say it, it's totally up to you, but who are you accommodating? Are you trying to, and are you trying to accommodate and make the space for employees who work here 5 days a week, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, or people outside committees? So it's really up to you, and if, obviously, and if you want her to stay up here, then we need to do something different up here.
I thought we had just done that with Dari, but then he left. So we can do it with Leanne, and then if it changes, we can be back to, I want to go back upstairs is all. We moved land use from downstairs up here at the desire of...
That was Dari's request.
Well, that was in a closet.
It's where the refrigerator is now.
Yeah,
Well, except it was the whole space.
it was
Yeah,
the whole
it was the whole
space, but the
space.
whole space is
Jacob's
very big
and,
when they got all the
the
stuff in there.
lunchroom.
But I mean, the reason we asked the fire district to meet here, and they may be a separate district, was to make it easier for the residents and voters to attend their meetings. So they wouldn't have to go to Northfield. So there was a reason for that. We weren't just making it easy for the fire district. But in this floor plan, I'm looking over there, and I see 5 filing cabinets, Al has 2.
I have Al's,
I
the
see
personal
Al's
file
too.
cabinets.
I see Al's too, but I don't see those,
We weren't moving those downstairs.
but yet those are land use files.
Right.
They're not, I mean,
We don't access those.
so I guess the other idea is to bring, if we're gonna stay up here, is to bring all those files up here.
You'd have to bring all the assessing files up, yeah. I mean, it's
Except
one
the
year.
assessing files are used by the town clerk
No.
as well.
The assessing files are used by the town clerk. I would be surprised about that. I wasn't aware of that. I don't think,
I use all the files.
But you're up here.
I mean, and don't go by me, I'm just saying that there are people that use those files, and it's not just land use.
So what,
That surprises me, because I've never heard of anyone using the assessing files without going through the assessing office. I mean, I would certainly get files for them if they needed them, but I don't think Cindy used those files, because Cindy was kind enough to really help me do some filing of the, we had a lot of filings due, and I didn't know that, I got the idea that she hadn't really been in the files before, so.
The tax cards downstairs, I mean, they hold all the information on those properties, so as health officer, if I need to get information on a piece of property, that's where I go to. If there's anything from DES that's filed that pertains to that property for maybe, pour water in the well, polluted wetlands, it's in those files, which is why the health officer goes in there and looks at those files.
Right.
So they're not just
Well,
for
wouldn't it be more
assessing.
convenient for the health officer if they were up here? They'll be up here anyway.
They don't need to be convenient to me,
Oh.
and maybe the health officer that comes after me, maybe. So, I mean, don't go by me, I'm just saying it
Can we
because.
find out what the need is?
But then,
Need
like I
for
said, the tax collector goes in those files as well.
Yes, you've stated that already, so
So
you
if they
answered to
came
my
up
question.
here, she wouldn't have access to it.
can I ask you a question? What, did you look at the possibility of creating office space up here to accommodate your needs?
I did.
And have an office over there? Because at one point in time, we talked about building an office over where Tim is sitting and blocking that off and having a large office where you can have a desk, a table for you, and if you were meeting with somebody, have a table so you could lay out plans and things like that.
Yeah, I don't have really a problem with the second floor. I do have a problem with, I think it's difficult to work in a space that is kind of open to this conference room where I'm working right there. So I just think if there was a wall or there was some privacy so that if I am working till 5 o'clock and the board is meeting, I mean, I either have to leave or, I
Quiet.
Be
Because
quiet.
I've had to go over and tell her to be quiet because,
and I'm on the phone with engineers or whatever, and it seems not really conducive to, working when I'm really in the conference room area. And actually, when I first came, I really didn't think it was that big a problem until as, more and more meetings happen at different times, and then I feel like I'm in the meeting, and vice versa. So it is a little awkward to be working, and people, feel that that's kind of, and not only meetings, but, you have a lot of public up here, so, the public is coming through the office area, and, I don't know, it's a little bit
intrusive.
intrusive, that's the word.
So, just to be clear, Leanne didn't ask for this. You'll remember this conversation started with Tim and I just in reorganizing the office space. It's something that we thought should happen, that land use, we started out talking about having the town clerk tax collector move back there. That wouldn't work because all the stuff couldn't fit back there. So then we started talking about land use for all the reasons you've heard, moving down there. So I just want to be clear, it's not Leanne's idea. I've asked her to put it together because at the last meeting you said, well, not all her stuff is going to fit down there, how's this going to work? So she came up with this plan. I think, Tim and I think it's a good idea.
That's correct.
You've heard from Leanne why she thinks it's a good idea, but if that's not the way you want to go, if you don't want to support this idea and support the,
It's not that I don't want to support the idea. I really have a problem with taking our committees, particularly our fire commissioners and things like that, and having said, oh, well, you can go up to the senior center on what night they meet, Monday night or whatever, and say, go up there and meet. And that might not be available most of the time. So we tried so hard to get them here, and I don't want to break that relationship, and it's very important for that relationship right now. And to sever that type, I just can't see it. That's my problem. If we could find an alternative room or something that could do it, I'm all for making this move happen. You have to weigh the community and what's in it. We're trying to work together with that, and I just can't see that working.
Yeah.
Tim's got his hand up.
I just wanted to mention, keep in mind that if something is built in this room, that the times when we've had public hearings here, most recently for the police building, the room was full. When we had Senator Gaida here for Caleb Hill Road, the room was pretty full, as I recall, and the seats all the way over to this side of the room were filled. So if something were done, you'd have to keep that in mind in terms of it's going to lessen the ability to have as many people come to some kind of
I got
Not really.
Except for we use the middle school for town meeting because we can't fit them in here. Middle school, high school, so that's still an option.
It really wouldn't reduce our seating, because we're talking about creating a place where there's more privacy for land use, either in this side or that side. These chairs are the chairs of the chairs of the chairs.
Okay.
Sometimes I have people standing over there, but if we put, say we wall that in, we still have this. I mean, that's a table that's just become a place for clutter. We rarely use that table. I mean, with this table, that table's not necessary. So if we walled that in, we could get rid of that and put more chairs that way and increase our seating. Or if we walled that in, we could go that way.
I just had a brain thought.
Ooh, good.
Very dangerous, though. Ready?
Ready.
So why don't we move sewer in with you up there, and then they can take over that whole spot up there?
The sewer won't fit up there.
So you're going to take the table, the desk, the files up there.
There's a lot, that space is really crammed in, there's no room. If Catherine moves, maybe, but
So now they have that space and that space.
There's
Sewer
no room for
can't
sewer
fit
on
up
the
there.
stage.
no.
And you have people that come up and pay their sewer bill, and contractors that have blueprints
Well, maybe it's time that we relocate sewer,
to,
Where, downstairs? I don't think it'll fit.
not in town hall.
Okay, let's get back on track here. That's a separate issue from what is in front of us right now. Are we going to build out the extra meeting space?
I
Because I'm
think,
concerned about that.
I think our practice in the past has been, this is an important decision to wait until we have John with us. So that
Yes.
he also has an opportunity to,
I wholeheartedly agree. But
and I would like to see, if we go forward with this downstairs, how our meeting schedule would work.
I was just gonna ask, can we have a list in front of us of who meets what nights? Yeah, outside agencies, well, we only have one outside agency, correct? That meets here.
If you look at the website, I did the other day, I printed it off, I don't know where I put it today.
Is the website absolutely,
The website will show you,
accurate?
so for October,
The
for
fifth
example,
Tuesdays are free, I believe.
It'll show you.
Second and
What
fourth
the
for
meeting schedule is for
planning
next
fair and
week.
ZBA.
I'll put that together for the next meeting. So we didn't want Leanne's, your whole presentation to be on this, so we'll revisit this issue. The other thing that I had talked to you before about actually was through the goal setting was this idea of a technical review committee. And I asked Leanne to put together an outline of what that would look like for Tilton if you wanted to consider that. So she's got that and
It's called Technical Review Committee.
Pre-planning board committee.
So I think it's just, I think Leanne could probably just give you the highlights of it, and you
Yeah,
can
it's-
read it, and
Nothing.
we don't have to discuss it
Thank
tonight.
you. Sorry, wants to just.
It's been very successful in many communities to use technical review committees because you bring all the players in before it goes to planning board and get everyone to weigh in. And so it saves time through the planning process as well. And then everybody kind of has a say into the site plan process, including your outside agencies like sewer and water and fire and police. And certainly not all plans that come forward would require technical review, and they wouldn't all require sewer, for example, if it was a site that had a septic system. So, you know, each site would have certain people that would have to come, although they would all be noticed. And then, in my experience on technical review, in another town, you know, people decided on their own whether it warranted them, if they had anything to contribute. It's definitely a good process, and is, like I said, very successful, and it saves board's time, and it saves developers time and money to know what the issues are up front and stumbling blocks. Just a quick example of how this might have helped a process, whether you support the project or not, is that we have the liquor store that's going in at Market Basket, and they did not go to the water precinct prior to coming in, and now they could be held up with that because just because they're going to be held up, and they probably should have gone there earlier, and maybe if we had a technical review and water was noticed and they came, and they would have understood how long that process is. So it sometimes takes out some of those obstacles, and you know, every site has a different issue, whether it's sewer or water. Usually utilities are a big piece, but sometimes fire can weigh in, and they do now, but it's kind of nice to all sit around and someone brings up a point and someone else gets to weigh in on it as well. So it's not really that difficult, and it's good to bring those people together once in a while to work together in a town, can bring a community together. So we can, no decisions to be made, just use it as information.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
All applications as determined by the town staff, would that be more, would it be land use, not the town staff?
Well, right.
I just wanted to make
I think it's a
sure.
great idea.
Have you contacted the outside districts, fire and water, to see if they'd be?
I haven't really contacted anyone. This is just a plan. This is just a concept right now. I haven't really spoken to any of them.
I think it was important to bounce it off the select board first to see if you're even interested in it before you take the next step.
So they have to pay for this review?
Well, again, it depends on, they're not
You're
paying,
suggesting.
right, they're not paying for the review of the committee, they're paying for the engineer, as they do now. So since we don't have an engineer here to do any of the technical review of the drainage and that type of thing, they usually pay, and that money is used for the engineer. If it's a project that we decide needs engineering input, then they would pay for upfront, but they wouldn't pay for all of them. And then that money is then carried over to the planning board,
Okay.
because they escrow money as well for planning board review by our contract engineer.
I'm for anything that improves communication with land use and sewer. Well, no, we've had plans approved that should have gone through us prior and all, and it creates problems.
Absolutely, and we've seen that in other towns, and sewer was always very active and always came to those meetings because they wanted to be involved. And same with water. Hopefully they will see that it's valuable for them to be aware of projects that are going on, and it's a public meeting.
Solve a lot of problems,
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot of issues.
Yep.
What other communities around us have technical?
I think there's quite a few. I do know Hooksett, where I come from. We've been doing it for quite a while. I believe Londonderry, Merrimack. Again, I'm not that familiar with all the towns around here. I'd have to do some research. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not really around here.
New girl.
I forgot.
Was this a test, Selectman Dawson, or what?
I know. I certainly can get that information for you easy enough.
See, I've already got your resume.
First, I have to figure out what towns are around here, right?
Yeah, I forgot.
Uh,
Okay.
Okay.
The other
What do you
thing,
need a decision by?
We can implement this at any time. This is no, there's no timeline. I mean, certainly, the sooner we start doing it with our projects, the better, but, I mean, there's no,
I like the concept, but how much does it cost? There's going to be a cost to this.
well, there's no cost to the town. It's just bringing,
You're going
Cost
to
to the
be,
applicant.
you're going to be doing the legwork and whatever to put this together.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody has to put it together.
oh, absolutely, yeah, no, I would do
You're a
it.
town employee.
Yep.
So your time will be spent
Okay.
doing that, and I'm wondering if you're doing that, what other town stuff you might not be doing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really that difficult to put together once you have it in place. It's just an application. You send a notice to the other departments. It becomes very routine. Once you start doing it, other departments that get it know it's coming, they get it, they make the decision. I mean, it is another clerical piece, and certainly the meetings are during the day, not at night, because you want all these departments to come. Usually you meet at the same time, 9 o'clock or whatever, on a Tuesday before the planning. But, I mean, you're right, the cost is time of a staff, but other than that, I think it pays back in saving time that you're spending later untangling site plans that might have problems. It seems to, save a lot of time for future planning, so.
And eliminating any potential liability to us too.
Right.
Frustration with applicants.
How does the consulting engineer, how does that work? But, like you said, that they would pay for it, so that's like an additional fee for them?
It is the fee, yeah, that's the fee is only for the engineering, and we do that now for the planning board.
But it passes over to the planning board as
Right,
well.
so if we'll say the engineer has minimal comments and it's,
Yeah,
$200, that money would then continue to be
They're already doing
escrowed. Yeah, they're already doing it,
There are no additional fees by putting this concept together.
right,
If no engineering's needed,
We don't-
they
we
don't
don't.
have a fee.
right.
If there is, no different than the regular plan. If they need traffic count or something, they have to hire an engineer to do it. So
That's correct.
And these projects that will be going for TRC, these larger projects, I mean, these developers are used to this process. They're used to paying escrows for engineers because many towns, have town engineers, and they don't even blink. It's part of the process.
part of the cost of it.
Cost of doing business. It's pretty common for. And even if you have a town engineer, I know even in Hooksett we finally got a town engineer. They still pay separately because that was the give of hiring an engineer. It was going to pay back by the developers were going to pay for our town engineer. I don't know if it really worked out quite that way, to be honest, but that was the theory with that. All right. So the other thing I just wanted to a couple more quick things, and then I'm going to let you move on in your agenda. The other kind of big piece that I know is of some interest to the board as well, obviously to land use, is master plan. Jeannie has asked me to look at, getting an RFP, so we have an idea of how much it would cost to have a contract help us with that. This is just a little bit of information again for you on master plan and the RSAs. It's just a one-page. Just kind of tells you where the responsibility lies, how it works, and just information. I can get an RFP together. I don't have that done for this week, but I can put an RFP together and we can at least find out what that cost would look like, and we can also decide if you want to go forward. It can be done in phases as well. It doesn't have to be all done at one time. This is kind of it's a big project certainly, and I think everybody knows that it's not going to go too quickly, so I don't know if anyone has any questions about that. And
Great.
I think that's it. Do you have any questions for Leanne?
How's it going so far?
it's going well.
Good.
It is going well. Yeah, it's going very well, actually.
My concern was the dirt, that stuff that's.
Yep, I understand that was, I think Al went out and was that the,
Yeah, they're just piles of dirt. They haven't moved.
I went down and looked.
And, but
I didn't see those.
There's no
Sorry.
noise
the
from Jagera.
tree line right behind there, that's the wetlands, and some of the slopes go right down into the wetlands. And there's no silt fencing. We never did a change of use. It was a Lone Star Barbecue before, now it's a dirt supplier.
Lone Star Barbecue is the lot next door.
Yeah.
Well, Lone Star Barbecue is where it's filed.
No, it's on
It's
Jagera Auto.
I was just saying, isn't it Jagger?
It's Jagera,
Jagera,
Jagera, I think.
Yes, Jagger Auto too.
Yeah, it's on the Jagera.
So there's no change of use, that they're selling dirt now, there's no silt fencing, it's on the wetlands, it's, that should have silt fencing to keep it from washing in, I mean, it's required. So,
Big rain and washed it into the.
yeah, and it's already, some of it, the way they piled it, it slides down the back into the wetlands, so it's a clear violation, and it's been going on for weeks.
So I did speak with Al about it, and in fact, I went down and looked at the site with him. And it's actually my important, I put Lone Star Barbecue, that's what you had mentioned to me, so. But the property owner is seeking a wetlands permit for a potential project. And Al felt like there was no encroachment in the wetland. I'm just telling you what he said.
And if he's seeking a wetlands permit, they're gonna tell
Okay.
him that he needs, this is part of the criteria.
Here's the problem. This has been this for 4 weeks, and it has no silt fencing, which prevents it from eroding.
I'll go down there tomorrow
There
and talk to
should
them,
be
okay?
immediate, I've dealt with it before, got sent up, there's no silt fencing on a construction site, and I'd go up there and say, can you guys put up silt fencing?
Does it slope down?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And this is a dirt parking lot that just goes into storm drains that go into the wetlands.
I
So
haven't been up there, so I don't know.
proper stabilization of the soil is super important, because it just,
And they're seeking a permit.
If Joan's right, if there was a substantial rain, a lot of that dirt would be in that wetland, so.
But if you recall, the complaint on Silver Lake, DES ended up telling them how to make improvements and all, never find them. They had trucked out substantial fill in front to build a beach.
That was the routine.
So, doesn't mean DES is gonna find them.
So you'll go down.
Unusual, DES does usually like to find, they usually don't hesitate, but I don't know how
This
it's.
was only a few years ago.
things
Well, I think
changed
he's more
last
looking,
year.
I think John's more looking to get the problem resolved
Solved.
rather than a
Yeah,
fine.
I'll go down tomorrow and see, and have
I
them.
don't want him to experience some, because I've seen where these guys all of a sudden it washes in, and now they have to hire engineers, DS comes after them.
Right,
It's so much easier to
to
say,
fix
hey,
it before it happens.
put the silt fencing around, show
Okay.
best management practices, and then continue with the permit. We want you ending up, the landowner paying hundreds of
Right.
thousands in fines if it gets
Yeah.
washed in.
Yeah, it is, there's some big fines, that's why I said I can't believe DES, they don't usually.
You know, good.
Yeah.
That was everything.
Anything else for Leanne?
I'm delighted you have come to town of Tilton.
I will say that the last planning board, her first planning board meeting that she was talking about, Catherine, it was brought a tear to your eye.
I heard it
It
was,
was so
I heard it was
organized.
stellar.
Everything was laid right out. There was the highlights, get right to the meat of it, and she did a wonderful job.
Hearing great things,
Oh, thank you.
Project.
so it's great.
All right,
Thanks, Leanne.
all right.
Thank
Well,
you so
good luck.
much, really nice.
Good night.
Yeah. We're on Chief Cormier. Be sure to talk into the microphone. Say hi to Gail. Hi, Gail.
Hi, Gail.
There you go.
And what is your name, sir? Oh, it's the chief.
Okay, so, just I'll highlight a few things from the report. I tried not to go through into all the detail. Kind of an average week with 478 calls and about 10 arrests. But the detectives have been really busy just getting ready for now federal indictments. They got their state indictments done today. They did about 15 indictments today.
15?
Yeah, in Superior Court. Mostly
Nice.
drug-related cases. There's
Very
some
nice.
some theft, receiving property type felony cases, and then the rest are all drug-related cases and a false prescription case. And so it takes quite a bit of work to get ready for grand jury and make sure all the case pieces are in the folder and that they have all the evidence they need. And then we have 2 federal cases that are in process right now, both drug-related cases. One of them is 162 Caleb Hill, and the other one was actually a car stop where the guy had several weapons, a bulletproof vest, and drugs, and he's one of these career criminals with a long felony record. So we're trying to do both of those as federal cases, and I got word today that they're going to move forward on that case. I thought I was going to have a meeting on it next week, but something changed.
Nice.
So, which is good because he's a danger to not only the public but to the officers. He's generated a couple of SWAT calls over the last few years where he fired at officers in Belmont, and so besides selling drugs, he's just a dangerous guy. So they've been working hard to make sure those cases get prosecuted
Chief, I have a
federally.
question.
Yep.
How can you take shots at police in Belmont and be out and about doing your drug dealing business? How does that work?
Technicalities.
Yeah, no, he did some time and he got out, and then as soon as he got out, he got back into drug sales business. It's mind-boggling. So he shouldn't have the weapons anyway because he's a felony. But during the car stop, he had 2 handguns, bulletproof vests, more drugs. So we were adamant that we wanted that to be a federal case, and then Detective Buffington said today that they're going that route. It originally, just a matter of a few days ago, they weren't, and so I called down there and asked to set up a meeting next week, and just by doing that, somehow they had a change of heart. So it's going. We're still seeing a lot of the gas line details overnight, but I guess they're going to be going by South Bay, which means they're going to have to pave some of it in during the day. So there'll be some paving details related to that project during the day. They anticipate that could be within the next couple of weeks.
Is that in the concrete section of the highway?
That I don't know. Is there
Because
concrete there?
Route 3 is all concrete unless it's...
Concrete.
Yeah.
So they got to cut through that too.
Oh, that'll be.
They held traffic up.
They are.
And
That's,
Are they
that's
gonna keep the line
Is
open?
it Lord
what we're
Hampshire
told.
Can you
Yeah.
direction?
Wow.
I know.
There's no shoulders.
There's no shoulders. You're right.
Chief, can you repeat that again? How long are they gonna be working?
No, within the next 2 weeks, they're gonna.
Yeah.
We're told they're gonna trench through the causeway there by South Bay,
They started last night. They held traffic up 45 minutes one way.
one way.
One way, because I was in the middle of it with the bus.
Yeah.
45 minutes sitting in traffic going north, and they had flaggers.
Where was this?
Where was it?
Is South Bay by where the
this
O'Connell
over-
Lodge?
Yeah.
This is over on Route 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
O'Connell Lodge right around where Nick lives, Kinsana,
Mhm.
right
Yeah,
there.
right
They had
there.
it all dug up with the shoulders,
Mhm.
and they started last night,
I don't
45
go down
minutes,
that way for
45
like a
minutes
couple
in
weeks.
line,
Oh,
waiting to go just one way. If I'd known, I would have taken Route 140 to Guilford,
Yeah.
but I
That would
didn't
be
know.
a good use of the variable message board if they're going to be that much of a delay.
I was just gonna
Alert
say
people
that.
to go around.
Can we do something,
So you go
because
alternate routes?
Yeah,
you're
yes.
tied up in traffic I was tied up it was around 7 o'clock at night. I did not leave that area till about 7:45 and got back into Guilford around 8. And that was, we just sat there, trust me, with 7 guys from the golf team and the language a little bit
Oh,
different, but
jeez.
it was terrible.
Yeah, see if we can get a couple boards down there.
It would be nice because if you could use an alternative route, it would be,
The through traffic.
I would have taken it for the 45-minute delay.
Right.
Would it be politically incorrect if we offered maps on our website for alternate routes? I mean, we'd be
Yeah, because I'm
diverting
gonna check the
traffic into-
website when I need to look for an alternate route.
Nobody
Yeah.
How long is it gonna take them to finish the project?
I think a public notice in the paper too.
Yeah, how long is it gonna take them to finish the project?
It's supposed to run right through the fall, so
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Like I
probably
said, word of mouth.
Holy moly. I think Tilton PD should use their Facebook and put it out there.
the delays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that, Tilton Northfield talking, some of the other ones too.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
We can do that. And then the CAP's going to be attending a meeting relative to that Cedar Street project, I think on Tuesday, for the sewer line. And just a bunch of stuff going on events-wise. They have Fall Family Fun Fest at the middle school on Friday night from 5:30 to, it goes to about 8 o'clock. That usually gets 500-600 people to it. It's well attended. And we'll be down there. Is it still a go for the food drive Saturday morning? Is that still
Yes, it's still on,
on for
yes.
Saturday morning? The Tanger 5K road race will be Sunday morning. And Old Navy has a public safety day coming up the 28th, and then of course the Halloween event that everyone's excited about on the 26th. First week of October is National Coffee with a Cop Week, so we're going to be doing a couple of them. October 1 will be at the Senior Center. October 2 will be at the Dunkin' Donuts. Just got a third request for Thursday at McDonald's because it's National Coffee with a Cop Week, so
Yeah,
it'll be a great week
that'd be
to
nice, yeah.
have coffee with us. Then some other stuff I want to touch on is the guys have been really trying to ramp up some downtown patrols. Sergeant Buffington's been having some special meetings just about that to kind of game plan it, and hopefully people are noticing.
Yeah, it was great because there was an accident today and Officer Patton was right there.
Nice,
Yeah, he was,
really nice.
right there.
I know. Yeah, they have to go down there twice a day minimum, so they're doing that. Nate's kind of taking the ball with that.
Wonderful.
So it's,
John,
wonderful.
that's kind of a follow-up to the meeting that we had, that discussion.
Wonderful.
So
That
thank
is
you.
so good.
um,
Thank God.
I just got an email for some more speed patrols on Peabody Street, and the residents looking for some speed bumps there. I think Kevin knows about that.
They had requested a couple of years ago for Peabody Street for a speed
After
bumps,
schools.
but they did not come in and formally, the residents did not come in and formally request it. It was requested via a phone call, wasn't it, Catherine, a phone call for Peabody Street? And then it was suggested, Brock had come in and said somebody had called for Peabody Street. This is a couple of years that they had asked for school, the school cuts in and speeding there. I would say,
Have them come in? Or?
well, make a formal request and then have you go out and monitor and see what it's like, or put the trailer up. Can you do that or no?
Yeah, I mean,
Is the trailer working?
it is. The guys do believe there's a problem there as far as people trying to avoid downtown and cutting through.
I'm telling you, it works on Cedar Street just fine.
Yeah, so I mean,
When Cedar Street was,
But it's
Had
interesting that
asphalt.
they would use Peabody and not Deer or, you know, usually when they leave the school, they don't even hit Route 3. And Peabody's
They're
on the
gonna
way
go out,
up,
they're gonna go out to Dare to
Right.
Winter.
and then up Cedar.
yeah, I think if they come around the corner and they don't see the backup at Deer, but then they
Peabody
see.
is the commuters out of like Franklin that miss the other turns and see the stacking and say, oh, I still have a chance to turn.
Right, yeah. I mean, she said her 11-year-old son was out in the street playing there, and So, and so the guys already did start some patrols from that request.
Yeah.
But part two of her request was speed bump, and she had sent an email to me and Kevin.
So the Peabody Street one, I've come around the corner and seen children playing, but they come from the Franklin area mostly. At the same time when the school gets out, factories get out down in the Franklin area, businesses get out at the same time. So they look for the pileup, and if they see the pileup coming just beyond the school, then they take a left on Peabody, and then they come down Winter Street, and then they think that they can get through Winter, but then they go down Cedar. So it's not just the school. It's
Right,
not-
it's, right, yeah. not
So
just-
you're gonna set the trailer so it'll do a 24-hour count,
Yeah.
so we can see how it varies between that time when school's open?
Peabody's one-way, is it not, Chief?
It is.
What if we reverse the one-way? Then they can't cut back that way. That neighbors would just have to learn that now I come in the other way. No speed bump needed then, because they're not going to be cutting through.
I don't know, does anyone know what the history behind that?
They made it one way to Winter because it was easier to dump out onto Winter than to try to get onto Route 3.
So
Yeah, trying to make a left turn against traffic during a
I
busy
believe it.
turn
I
would be
think there's a
time.
corner in it there, isn't there? If you're trying to take
Yeah.
a left up to Peabody, doesn't it make, yes, it makes a corner around, yeah. Mm-hmm. Paratori's house,
Yep.
that's a corner.
you can't-
So you also have a blindness there.
right.
Yeah, I can get a traffic count.
Also, take a look at the one-way, and take a look at, see what your recommendation is. I do believe that there was a reason why they said no to the one-way. You can't, and for plowing reasons as well,
Yeah, I'll look into that too.
because they go up one and down the other.
Plowing's an easy one. If you look at
I was
the
gonna
big cities,
say-
they'll have signs up, plows may be coming against traffic. In Portland, they've got two main arteries, and
Oh, okay.
they can, so you see all the lights flashing coming towards you, you know, to pull over.
Yeah,
No,
giant
we're
dump
on
truck,
Peabody.
plow.
No, that's,
Funny things, and I've seen a lot of places signs that say no through traffic.
Yeah, you can actually, you can restrict it to local traffic during hours too. I've seen that before, where it's restricted, but then you'd have to allow the local residents to get in there that live there. It can be a little bit,
enforcement.
Right.
That's
It's an
where,
enforcement
if you
piece.
say no through traffic, then
yeah.
residents can come and go as they.
Then you'd have to have an officer there
I was gonna say-
24/7 for enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, the speed bumps do help on Cedar. It may be in the end a
What
good,
helps is digging up Cedar Street. No, seriously,
Right,
I'm
'cause-
just kidding. But having it just before Spruce Street, the speed bump, it made a world of difference. The traffic, you don't see the traffic now that you saw before the speed bumps, because they're not making all that, because they know there's 2 speed bumps now.
right,
It made a world of difference.
difference.
World of difference in it. And if you listen to Kevin LaChapelle, in Billy Lawrence, it made a world of difference up on Daniel Drive. So they do make a difference. If they're very effective, if you use them in the places where it's needed. I mean, you just can't. They're like $900 a piece, but you can't use them everywhere on every street. We used them on Academy Street, and they were effective there too because of small children. I think those are the 3 places that we've used them so far, but, I have no problem if they're going to be effective to use them. I don't have an issue with that.
Especially if cars on Academy, they hit Academy and pick up speed by the time they got to Prospect. You
Right,
could barely stop.
right,
Peabody could be the same way.
Yep.
Dump
Yeah.
onto it, they could be shooting up there at a high rate of speed. It'd be interesting to see what your trailer tells us.
yeah, and one time the Budweiser truck decided that they were going to do that and didn't realize that there were speed bumps, and the guy in the Budweiser truck had to replace all the broken bottles that he had in the vehicle. I
Oh, I
remember
see.
that.
That's pretty funny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The other thing is to make them aware that the speed bumps are seasonal.
Right.
I'm not sure how soon before Kevin starts pulling them, but probably October, November-ish,
Yeah, first snowfall, they're up.
or before that.
Mm. Yeah, I'll do a count on PBD and see what the numbers look like, and the guys are out there doing some enforcement because of the email that we
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, let us know.
So is it count or speed, chief, they're more concerned with?
Speed.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
no-
gonna record both speed and count?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it, and it's, again, it's,
Times.
yeah.
Because that's a 15 road, isn't it?
Yeah, coming through there. I imagine she's,
Which-
according to her
which-
email, it's the cars after school. It doesn't mean they're student related, but
No, it's the
it's
factories.
the afternoon.
It's very hard to go 15 miles an hour.
I was gonna say, that's a crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a narrow street, so.
It is. I'm not saying we
Right.
should raise
I
it,
know.
but 15 is a crawl.
Yes.
Well, let's see what the information provides.
Yeah. Thank you,
Of
Chief.
the story.
And then a couple of programs we're working on is Beth kind of initiated something back a while ago, Cops and Caregivers, where they're going to call seniors and do like a good morning call program with them.
Yep.
So she's pretty much got that all done now, and at our Coffee and Cops, they'll be kind of trying to get identify those seniors that want those calls.
Yeah,
And
just
so-
in Tilton, or are they gonna do surrounding? Gonna
We
start
could
out
get
with
the other
just in Tilton?
agencies to partner with us, but just for
You're
Tilton
gonna
for
just,
now.
just
Yeah.
in Tilton, okay.
And then lastly, I've been chatting with Jeannie just about some possibilities, if we do move on a new facility, maybe some sponsorship type opportunities that could exist. And, I had mentioned some things like the flagpole memorial area where might be a couple of flagpoles and a law enforcement memorial. That could be a sponsorship opportunity. The community room, playground, kitchen area. I know Molten Borough got everything donated for their kitchen when they did theirs, and I believe their community room too. But I did talk to AutoServe just to kind of get a temperature to see if that's something they'd be interested in, and they said they would.
Uh-huh.
So he said absolutely. He
Yeah.
goes, if you're looking for a sponsorship for one of those things.
Wait a minute. Is this like MetLife Stadium? It's gonna be the kitchen collection break room, or
I don't know. It
Staples computer
Yeah.
room, or?
doesn't have to be, but yeah, I guess if we wanted, it could. Like, we're just exploring what they could help with. With some of the, I see it a lot of outside stuff, playground.
Chief, maybe we should integrate some brick walks and you can sell bricks off.
Like the
sponsored
Rotary
by-
does.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah, they do that.
they do that too.
Well, it's like the senior center, when Allison donated all of the tables, we put a plaque up that said donated by, tables donated by the Hartwell Stewart family, so you could do that too. Yeah, and so right there it says, this table is donated by Northway Bank, right in the front.
Yeah, just so we're just exploring those options, and he's just the one. I tried to get a hold of Tanger, but he's down in Greensboro for training this week, and he's going to call me when he gets back. But yeah, AutoServe said they would definitely.
It's kind of an interesting idea, and I think the chief wanted to just test your temperature here as to if that's something you,
Would or would not consider, I guess.
in other communities, they do that. They do the fundraising that fills the gap. And I know over in Meredith right now, we've got a library renovation going on, and the library committee has raised over $500,000 right now. Their goal is 1.12 for their fundraising effort. So, maybe it's all the ideas that the chief said. Every little bit's going to help.
The bricks help get the community members involved.
Yes.
'Cause you
So
can
I think
sell
it-
$100
yeah.
a brick or something.
Yeah.
And I think it's important too that it wouldn't be just, it's not just business owners, is that if you bring it to a level where it's a park bench or it's something, or it's a granite bench or something that people can afford, to a group or organization or whatever, that gets, I mean, it's gonna help.
Yeah, definitely. I know down in Woburn where my mom is, there's a pond and all the benches are sponsored by somebody. I was down in Richmond, Virginia, and I saw just what Pete's talking about. It was a park, and you walk through the park, and every piece of slate was donated by somebody.
And you can do multiple size bricks for different size contributions too.
Yes, they did that at the library in Atkinson. We got a brick from our parents, in memory of our parents. Yeah.
Our library did that.
Yeah. Right.
So is that something?
Go for it.
Okay, good.
I think it's an excellent idea. And I think that it really shows that we're working very hard at trying to lower the cost, too, for the police station.
Yeah.
So if we go out there and get $500,000 worth of donations,
Is this consensus, or do we need a vote?
well, you should get consensus
Get
at
free
least.
money?
You get free money? We should at least get
That's a
consensus.
no-brainer.
I say yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes.
I'll work with you.
And thank you.
What's Joe's opinion? He hasn't opened his mouth yet.
I'm on the fence a little bit. I understand getting this table. Northway Bank, is it? Thank you, Northway Bank, and I get that, but I don't know, MetLife Stadium.
He
I
doesn't.
didn't
He doesn't
I
want
didn't
an
want it to
Alex
look like
Ray
we're
break room.
Selling out. We're selling out the police station to the business community, but I like the bricks, and I would buy a brick, and it is a community thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm going back and forth, but you got 4 yeses anyway, so have fun. Go nuts.
Before, are you done, Chief? Before you leave, I think Tim,
Yes.
did you want to talk about, wasn't at the meeting the other night, the Police Building Study Committee meeting, but I think you wanted to talk about something?
Yes. So, just briefly, as we've been working on our plans, one of the tasks that I have, along with a few other people, is to develop the communications plan for the building, so data, telephone, also surveillance, access control, and the like. So that's all kind of wrapped up under the IT umbrella. And about 2 years ago, I don't have the exact date, but I came before the board and asked for Mango Security Systems to be the sole source for our surveillance, and we've been building out those through Riverfront Park here and at the PD. And we have a plan for the Public Works garage, which is still on hold. But as we're going through the plans for the new building, I've talked to the Police Building Committee, and there was no objection to Mango being that sole source, because we don't want to change equipment or vendors as to what we're doing. I want somebody to be able to support all the things we're doing town-wide, and that includes the access control, which is partially integrated to the surveillance, and then they have all of our fire panels right now as well. So, that's one thing I would like for the board to support, and just be sure that that's understood up front, so that as we go through this process, when we're receiving bids, those things are also going to be for surveillance and access control. They're not going to be under Milestone. They would be under the owner's responsibility, meaning we're not going to pay a fee for Milestone to subcontract Mango to come in and do it. We're going to be the contractor, or they're going to be our subcontractor, if you will, for those two items. For fire control, they would be working through an electrical contractor, because that pertains to the occupancy permit and the ability to move into the building and complete the project, which is a very standard thing that they do. They have all of our fire control panels now, and again, it's making sure that we don't have to use another third party, that somebody that, if an electrical company, got somebody else put something in, once the building's built, the electrician is out of there, whatever company came in and did the work. And then we might end up with different programming required. So the way this works is Mango, although they're the subcontractor to the electrical contractor for the purposes of completing the building, they're the ones that come in and program the system at the end. They commission the system as part of their duties to the electrical contractor. So, so in any event, what I wanted to do, because there's an incredible amount of work that I'm spending my time doing, probably about 40% of this week, it feels like at least, and a good amount last week, and it's going to continue this way until these plans are done and moved on to the next, you know, the next point, which will be towards the end of this month. So, so right now, I'm laying out an overall design, working with the PD as to where things are going to be, how things are going to work, and then I've had meetings with Mango, the PD, and also the architect to go through how this would be laid out, because there's a lot of detail as to how certain access control points would work, how those would be accessed and opened, how it works for security, for officer safety, for moving prisoners through or people that are apprehended through, how state police would access, you know, all that sort of thing. There's an incredible amount of detail. So I just want to be sure the board is in agreement with, you know, what was originally, you know, to use Mango as a sole source for our surveillance products, but to make sure that this is still fine with the board as we're proceeding through this project.
So Mango's going to design and build, basically.
Right, so they would be our
Yes,
subcontractor
right.
to this.
But they're going to design it for us and then build it.
Yes, and as we get to the point of building the bond, we're going to have the price from Milestone for, you know, the building, electrical, and under electrical would be the fire controls, you know, for Mango.
Mhm.
And for surveillance and access controls, we would have, you know, those proposals and design to go into that as well.
So why can't we go to Milestone, ask them to get pricing, and have it one whole package? Because you don't think they're going to use Mango.
No, they
No, not at all.
mark it up.
But they're going to charge us 3.95%.
Great.
Yeah, anything that passed through, they get something.
And there's, you know, not to say that access control and surveillance aren't important, but they're not going to hold up the occupancy of the building. The fire control would.
So, because I wasn't at the meeting, and you're down there shaking your head, so I don't really know what happened at this meeting. Did the committee agree to this, to what you're presenting, or?
There seemed to be a consensus. There was
But
no vote taken.
It's ultimately up to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, other than the fact that the committee makes a recommendation to the board. And I wasn't at the meeting, so
But for the fire controls, that's what was determined.
There was a long discussion on the fire control,
Right. But that
because they couldn't do, because of the occupancy and the liability of having someone else do it. So, just don't know why we're pushing this tonight, that's all.
Well, only because there's so much work that has to be done.
We're running out of
hate to
time.
You
I hate
have it
that.
already laid out.
No, Pat, there is revision after revision. There are 3 revisions after that I haven't even been able to mark up yet because of timing. So, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and go through the detail of, you know, what's what, but I don't think it's fair to ask any particular vendor to put.
So you're gonna go, instead of going to the police committee,
No, actually, my intention was, and it just, unfortunately, the way the meeting went, my intention was to have that voted on by the police building committee. And so I can do that Monday. I can do
So
that
it-
Monday.
But then you would be delaying it a week to come to the Selectmen.
True.
Is that a problem?
Is that a problem?
We're running out of time.
Well,
So,
there are other things that they're working on as well, so,
no, I can.
I mean, I'm fine taking that to it's Monday night, so I can take that to
I
the
like
Monday night.
saving the money. It's not necessary to pay them to ask for a bid from a contractor like Mango. I mean,
He's asking,
Rutherford
he's
Park.
asking for the sole, be the sole
Well,
source.
me, I
had a
definitely
question
want
about
to go with Mango. They're already our source for this sort of thing. We have a relationship with them, and I know that we have a bid process that we're supposed to go through. But it makes nothing but sense to me to stick with the one that you're using now.
Decisions on this, but the one thing is to think about is that system needs to be designed and set up, and the price in it takes a lot, just like the architect designs a building. So regardless of who you decide to go for, you need to let them know right away so they can come up with a price to get back.
There's
So
a
that's just,
there's a lot of detail beyond, the plan that has been out there as to camera locations. So.
No doubt.
I have a couple of questions. The police building, if it is built, will that system be any way connected to any of our components in town hall? Or will it be its own entity?
Well, it's really a matter of security. So generally speaking, dispatch would have access, which they have access to our other camera systems. But we wouldn't be looking at, we wouldn't typically be looking at police.
So that building wouldn't be
Cameras here.
connected to this building?
No, the plan is to have, yes, the plan is to have data connection.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I guess it's more, the capability is there, yes. It's whether or not, that would, from a security standpoint, would make sense. But, yeah. So I will attend the Upland 2, I was planning to attend the meeting Monday anyway, and I'll make sure that gets discussed and is clear, because there was some confusion Monday night, so I'll be sure that we're crystal clear on that and move forward from there.
I think it's a great idea. I think you should
Yeah.
go forward with it. Not waste any more time. You're gonna save money by not paying Milestone to do what we're quite capable of doing, or you're quite capable of doing.
In my head, the committee has been nothing but forthcoming with details and plans and talking this up and stuff. If we're gonna make a decision like this, I think that the committee should get the same from us, and we should tell them that we're doing this, or we're considering it, and that they should weigh in on it.
But didn't I just hear that there was a big discussion about this?
Well,
Yeah,
I think
but-
he said there was some confusion and
There was,
It should be clear.
so,
There was no vote taken on it, and there was confusion.
So it didn't
And then it
come
was
to a
the end of the
conclusion.
meeting, and everybody did right.
It didn't come to a conclusion.
no, but there did seem to be an understanding, because
Okay.
the confusion was on the fire piece. So, would you be comfortable if the board took a vote, Pat, and then Monday is providing the police building committee? is in
What,
favor?
the part that I don't, no, I'm not gonna comment on it, I'm
I
sorry.
think Joe's right. I don't think at this point we should overrule the committee.
That's the
So
part that I don't,
realized there wasn't a conclusion to
Right.
the discussion. I did hear there was a discussion, so I'm more than willing to hold my vote until next Thursday.
No, I'll bring it up Monday.
I'm not against Mango whatsoever, of sole source whatsoever. I'm not against that. What I'm against is the politics of, the committee has worked so hard to keep going this way and keeping everybody,
And I
in-
did attempt to bring it, and as I mentioned, I think to you separately, that I felt rushed.
but we
And,
only had a time period because, we were there a couple hours and Milestone had to leave, and you had a commitment, and I think there was somebody else on the board that had a commitment.
stayed until the Thank you.
My concern is time, and it's running out quickly.
I'll bring it up Monday, we'll be able to meet.
I have a question about the the building for the police. Do you want me to wait until selectmen's reports, John, or?
Something. Well, we might as well do it now, I think it's.
So I was asked today by the town clerk, if the conference room that's in the building is large enough to hold town meetings in for voting, town meeting voting. It probably is large enough for voting, and I don't know how big it would have to be for town meeting.
Wouldn't hold town
Wouldn't
meeting.
hold
Yeah,
town
the-
meeting.
The room is 35.5 feet by, I think, 30, almost 33.
And the seating capacity is what, less than 50?
Yeah,
I think it's 60.
60,
Is it 60?
65, I think.
And we had more than twice that at town meeting,
The,
not including Board of
it's
Selectmen.
almost the size of this room, shaved about 10 feet off on either side.
Be a little tight for voting too, unless you're reducing booths.
And sometimes it would definitely be tight for voting.
Mm-hmm.
I said I would ask,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing the plan, I don't want a room that size in that building.
Big enough for town meeting.
You could probably vote in the room. It would be tight, but
Well, could you vote in the,
you could vote in the big room and have
I-
the food for
going
the-
in and out, I don't think you would have the traffic flow in and out. You'd have to go in the,
It'd be easy enough to add a door to the back. They'd flow in and then out.
oh,
And they could use the little conference room for their food, but at this point, it shouldn't be made bigger to accommodate food. I
Good
just
thought,
promised-
though.
I promised I would ask, I did.
it's a great thought. It's,
Because we could get rid of the chief's office, the
Weight room.
we could get rid of the weight room, we could get rid of.
No, you just make a supervisor's office, Catherine, just one.
No bathrooms. Just leave the cells.
How are we doing with?
Thank you.
We could definitely go.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Could be used for meetings.
Well, and I
she
think,
could host,
Catherine, that would be big enough for sewer, maybe we can sublet.
Catherine, she could host her town clerk tax collector conference there.
Oh, I don't know, that's a pretty big conference. That's a,
But there would be no amenities.
that's a big conference. I think
Like
there's
parks.
a lot more than 60 people in there. But anyway, thank you.
How many towns are there?
The state of New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Chief,
Yeah.
so I signed paperwork last night
do you want this stuff?
with, for the grants. So I didn't know if everybody knew that.
The grant? No.
We did.
Highway safety grants,
Yeah.
DE and,
Yeah.
We discussed.
That they put
Yeah,
in ticket
yeah.
and stuff?
That got taken care of. And what are we thinking? Maybe there's got to think towards cars or, I mean, I know this is one car is getting like already 50,000 this.
that would have been a question for Tim.
Yeah, I mean, the money's in, especially maybe now because of all the details, so.
Just something to
And Tim and I
start
have
thinking
been
about.
talking about, I'll see if we can, my next time in, Tim and I will put it together or something.
Right.
Should we also ask the mechanic what the conditions of the cars are?
Yep.
Because mileage
I think
isn't
that's
an
it.
indication of the condition of the car, it's just an
Oh,
indication
yeah.
of how far it's been.
What's the mileage on your cars, John?
300 and
I'll
something.
get you
Yeah, I'm
the-
only 230, so I'm a little behind you, but yeah.
50,000 police miles.
Me too.
No, 50,000 teenage ones.
I just know they haven't bought a car for a year. They've been,
Big difference, huh,
It was
Cass?
nice, wasn't it?
Okay, next.
Did we have two in the last year, John, before that?
Bedtime coming up.
Right.
okay, so, next thing we have is the selectmen reports. And the first name on here is Pat Constantino, who's seated to my left.
Extreme left.
Extreme left. Pat?
I really don't have anything. at this time, except the police building study committee. We met, we talked. We didn't vote, as you all heard. So that was it. I really don't have anything, I'm sorry.
And the next person, we're going alphabetical today. Catherine Dawson.
I have one thing with two parts. So as you heard, the sewer commissioners are going to do pipe blasting on Cedar Street, which will start the first week of October, we hope, depending on when they get the pipe in. Rouse is looking for staging areas. They will have, I believe he said 80-foot lengths of pipe, because they fuse the pipes together before they run them through. They'd like to run them up Maple Court. As you go up the street on the left-hand side, there's quite a shoulder there.
Say no.
And then they'd
How
also,
many pipes would there be, you know?
well, it's 1,000 feet.
It's a lot of pipes.
Well, 80 foot, 10 is 800 feet, so you don't really need that many things. And the project goes to the intersection of Cedar and High Street, or High Street Extension, because it doesn't run down to Pine. They'd also like to use the vacant lot that is on Cedar and High Street Extension that the Water District is using. So I said that I bring those both to the board, and I don't think all the pipe will be on Maple Court, because, like I said, they're gonna go from there to the intersection, so we probably have some on the vacant lot as well.
How long would it be on Maple Court?
Well, the whole project shouldn't take more than 5 days.
Well, what damage does it do to the,
Nothing, it just sits there.
well, but you need
Are you talking the pipe or the operation
the
itself?
pipe and everything
The
with
pipe they
it,
want to store is just gonna sit there.
but they need a vehicle or some equipment to pick it up.
Right, probably a forklift or a loader.
So I guess the question is, who's going to be responsible for restoring the storage area and that to
The contractor,
what
whatever.
it was? You want to make sure, and same thing with, up at,
I mow, rake for 30 years now, that little piece that, the lawn that's over there now. I just don't want it to be hurt.
It's cute.
So most likely it'll be on pallets or something, so it's easier to lift.
Has the
So-
Pallets would
landowner
even
been
make more
contacted?
They
damage.
won't just set them on the ground, because they will have to lift them. They will have to
Owns
be
that
up
land?
on something so forklift
Marsh.
can get under them. But there shouldn't be any real
Vicky and
damage.
her husband own that land, don't they?
No,
Who owns that land?
town. They own beyond the other side of the
Stonewall?
Stonewall, yeah.
so
It's all town land
I understand that we're
that I
kind of
maintain.
for it, but we want to make sure that the property, there's some kinds of provision in there that says that the property would be restored after,
Do we have an agreement for the water district for the vacant lot?
yeah.
Then we should each take the same agreement for
There you go.
Rouse.
Now, are there staging areas up on Linden, Highland?
Have you seen the vacant lot?
No.
It's all cut down and
Yeah, they
Well, they said they were going
cut
to.
the brush back.
They said they were going to.
And
I
clean
mean,
it
there's
up.
not much more you could
They would
do.
probably still need the vacant lot to do Linden and Pine and Highland if we choose to go that route.
If we
But isn't the water company up there now?
Yeah,
Are they staging up there, or are they staging?
They're staging off the vacant lot.
yeah, they're staging off the vacant lot. If we
Oh,
give you
okay.
the same as what agreement as we gave them, how are we gonna know what's them and what you? Because right now, they've plowed it, cut it down, plowed it. They have tractors going in and out, dump trucks going in and out. I mean, it's literally, I would say, to me, it's a mess. It's a typical staging area, it's a mess. So if you went up and staged there, I would not know any difference in what you're doing than what they've already done.
Yeah, Raul's process isn't going to do any more damage to it because
Right.
Are you looking for loam and seed,
there's only a couple of pieces.
or are you
of
looking
equipment.
for
No.
shrubs brought back?
For
What?
the vacant lot?
Yeah, what are you
No.
looking for restoration?
I don't know what the agreement
I
is
think
there.
just great.
If it's Jeff's grading, I'm sure we can, we'll have, Rowell's will do.
Now,
And
Maple
no-
Court would be different because there is grass there,
No debris
No,
left
if we
behind.
dug up your grass, we'd loam and
Not
seed
much.
it.
but there is.
Town grass.
It's town grass,
So,
but manicured town grass.
so we're okay with that being used, provided there's something that says that
In Foxglove.
everybody's gonna clean up their mess.
I am, as long as they
Leave it.
clean up their mess.
And there's lots of foxglove on that wall.
Oh, that's nice.
Uh-huh.
All right,
Thanks, it's exciting.
that's it?
That's
Joe.
really exciting, thanks, Catherine.
All right, that's squared away. That's one, that's a two-part question.
Well, Maple
That-
Court was one part.
Maple
Oh, got
was
it.
the other part.
I got it.
Good part.
Next is Peter Fogg.
So let me preface it that I believe Bill Lambert has said the crosswalk at Tilton House is not a legal one, but we keep it there. So my question is, did we contact him about the Winter Street crosswalk or the crosswalk to Riverfront?
In my report, I mentioned that I met with Senator Guido
Okay.
this week, and he is going to reach out to Bill Lambert to see about getting that crosswalk installed and what it's going to take, so.
Okay, I was just thinking, we have one that he's always said no to, and we just put it in, so it's like,
Right, but the direction I got.
yeah, okay, no,
But
But-
what we said at the time is because we own, I don't remember if it's 10 or 18 feet out from the curb, we said, well, we can paint our crosswalk out to our land and we'll just leave the middle empty.
But that crosswalk has been there. If this
That's right.
crosswalk hasn't been there,
That's
we
right.
just voted to repaint the existing
That's right.
crosswalk. I
except,
know that DOT doesn't like it, but
okay, and we have a park that you cannot get to if you are a pedestrian. And you think that's okay?
I know, I
The
didn't say
crosswalk
that.
at least gives me
I
some,
didn't say
if
that
I get
at
hit in a crosswalk, I'm covered. If I get
all. And the
crossed
picture
there with no crosswalk and I get hit, I'm at fault. That's all I'm looking for, protection plus less harassment for the juveniles, for jaywalking.
Is a legal crosswalk adequate protection?
RSA, I believe, says so. You must stop for a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
A legal crosswalk, I could paint a crosswalk on my street out in front of my house. It doesn't make me have any protections when I cross the street.
The RSA doesn't differentiate between illegal and legal.
Oh, I love it.
So,
Okay,
so
well,
yes,
you got
then
the
it's
point.
up to the municipality or state to cover it up if they deem illegal.
Tilton's has an unusual situation. that I mentioned.
I'm just trying to resolve an issue. We've got a park you can't get to if you're walking, legally.
I'm all for the crosswalk.
Thank you for taking initiative and meeting with Senator Guido on that. It should help, we've never done that in the
Are they
past.
gonna require lights, or you don't know yet?
No, you put the sign in the middle like we do downtown.
The last couple of years ago, they required a light. Bill Lambert. Okay.
I'm done.
Anything else?
Next.
And Joe.
Joe, I have a couple things. The first one is that on Saturday, we're having the Vicky Virgin Food Drive to benefit the food pantry and Catholic Church. And that's from 9 o'clock in the morning till 1 p.m. at our local market basket. They were gracious enough to allow us to collect food at both the entrances. So I just wanted everybody to know about that. See you there. And Brook Road, right there by Russell's. Catherine, you might be familiar with this issue, no?
Oh, yeah,
right.
I can read your mind.
It looks like somebody ground off the top part of Brook Road.
They did.
I don't know why they would, and there's a couple of cones there, and like one part's starting to wash a little bit over on the right, and so you gotta go around this way but it's a several inches drop. It's not a smooth transition at all. And I came in and I told Gail, so that it could get in the pipeline for the Public Works Director. And
It's
it's
not,
Brook
it's not ours, is it?
Road is a state road?
Yeah,
They,
it's DOT maintained.
Class 2, all of the Lockmere roads, Church,
Wow.
River,
Winter maintenance only.
even Silver Lake Road remains a
Yeah,
Class 2
I
state
know
road,
those are-
and Brook.
Yeah, I didn't know about Brook.
Yeah.
Can we contact the Department of
They'll do it
Transportation?
if you take it back.
Have they done their paving project in the Lockmere area?
Well, they weren't doing Brook Road.
They've done Church and River, but
Yeah, I think they are, Catherine, because they did,
My
Lancaster
engineer-
Hills, so
the
they,
engineer for the the village district down there, says he doesn't think they're going to pave it this year because they have to do the dig safes. He's the dig safe guy. And he was talking with the engineer and they're talking about in the spring now.
if DOT's doing it, it'd be like a district resurfacing, so that comes out once a year in the spring.
Are you talking about?
This is just what they did to River and Church.
Yeah, that's part of the district paving contracts they do every year.
The artifacts dig?
No, dig safe. We have water shut-offs and stuff like
Why
that.
would dig safe take so long?
It doesn't.
So we
could
gotta
do the
find out
dig
from the
safe.
state.
What I'm saying is that they haven't requested the dig safe, so they have to request the dig
It's not in the
safe.
contract.
So we're gonna have to go and contact the state and say, how come?
No,
They
each
do.
year, the different districts, District 3 has a district paving, they take different roads in different towns.
Well,
This year in Tilton, they did Silver Lake, River, Church, part of Lancaster Hill. Did they hit Grange? I forget.
Yeah,
I thought
they did.
You
Yeah,
know,
they
those
did.
were the roads on this year's contract. Brook may be on next year, I don't know. You'd have to
Silver
see.
Lake didn't get taken care
When
of.
they did the Silver Lake Road project, and the outcome of the project was it remains a Class 2 state aid road, they did a portion of Brook Road. I'm gonna say maybe half. They did not come northeast and go across the bridge. And
From
then
the
up
house
up
to
Route
Silver
3.
Lake.
The only reason Brook
So
Road,
that road has continued to disintegrate over the years. That section is absolutely a challenge for
The-
motor vehicles.
Yeah,
And now that,
Especially
I
in the
think
spring.
somebody made a mistake when they ground that off, thinking it was part of that project. But now it's even worse.
Yeah, and it'll continue to get worse.
In the winter, it'll actually be.
So you wanna find out, Joe, if the state's gonna come over and
I
make
would
some
like to
repairs?
notify the state that this condition exists on one of the roads, that's all.
It will be
Damaged or
dangerous in the winter.
needs repairs.
So,
Catherine, Brook Road was done on the sewer project. That's why it was done. We brought the line up, so we,
not all of it,
huh?
not all of it.
Not all of what?
Brook Road.
No, because we only brought sewer up to what was it, the White House?
But the state did it because they brought drainage down and had that drainage run into the brook.
Okay, well, we also did sewer.
So,
So, Joe, any additional things?
Well, could we back up a little bit and tell
Sure.
me exactly what it is you want, Joe? Because I'm a little,
I don't know, ask
You
Bill.
You can ask when Brook Road is going to be on a paving project, district
I'd
or
notify
otherwise.
them of the situation, and
And if-
you know, and they'll do whatever they do.
When you say it was ground, are you saying a milling machine, Catherine?
Yeah,
something came along, like Joe said, and right where Brook Road meets Route 3,
Yeah?
they, yeah,
Oh,
I guess
okay.
round it up, there's this, like, a 4 or
Okay.
6 inch
Okay.
drop. And it looks like
And it's
they're
straight
gonna
across,
come back
isn't
and
it?
put in an
And what-
apron to
That's right.
smooth it
Okay.
out, but they never did.
So there are
where-
damages
It's
that
been-
need
Mike was the
repairs.
GC, District 3, find out who the engineer was for their district paving, and it was Pike who did all that.
so the question is when is Brook Road going to be
Repaired,
repaired?
where they milled or ground at the intersection of Route 3. And
you
while
also-
they're at it, they can
Joe,
continue down to,
If I'm not mistaken, you're asking for them to be notified that there's some damages that were
There's a
done.
problem, and they should fix it because there's a problem, but
yeah,
I know their process.
if they ground it by mistake,
Oh,
they
we
need to
didn't
fix it.
know. No.
Okay,
Right.
so let them know that there's a problem that needs to be fixed on Brook Road.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Sooner rather than later.
What else you got?
No, nothing.
Well, you can also just send Kevin off an email tonight if you can, because you're going on vacation. So, get that done.
You can ask Kevin to do it.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't matter
anyway,
who does it.
the only thing I have is, I can think of this time, it was brought to my attention about the signs. A lot of people were really enthusiastic on getting the pole signs, and we went through quite a bit and got Senator Geider to kind of work on that to resolve it and get all that
The banners.
insurance done.
The banners, right?
The banners.
Okay.
And now we're not doing anything.
Who
Yeah.
said that?
Well, I'm looking at the time of year, where in the end of September, that was I was told it was in March or May that they approved it.
We started it
Okay,
then.
and that's when, no, they approved the insurance change and all that, and we haven't. But anyway, if I can just finish for a second. At any rate, it appears that nothing is proceeding with that, and I think that we should get something going, if it's not through the committee, through the selectmen or something, taking that
So-
over.
Since I haven't reported back from the 150th, because we haven't met, but we're meeting next week, let's just say it's been stalled. There was a lot of time that it took to get those permissions when we were ready to just run forward with it. And one of our members of that committee that was spearheading it got into a very, very busy season for her business and couldn't, do all that she needed to, but it's not dead by any means.
I'd like to see it expedited, take it out of the stall gear and put into first gear and get it up to fourth gear and get them up in
As I
30
said,
days or something.
Reported to the committee.
Yeah, let's see what happens at the
Let
next
them
committee
decide
meeting.
how they
And
want
what
to
day is
proceed.
that?
Wednesday.
Of course, I can't make it.
And start advertising or whatever for, that people can start sending their pictures or whatever it is to get those banners going, and people can start sending in donations.
I think there was a Kevin,
Do we know how many brackets he's made
There was a lot
today?
of components.
Well, I think the goal was not to go over 100 banners, because once you go over 100 banners, then it requires Eversource or Consolidated to come out and do some survey work, and then we get charged for that, so we're just, I believe the idea was only to do 100. And to start from the center out, Main Street out.
Do we know how many he's fabricated yet?
He has done nothing.
Okay.
Kevin has done nothing.
Okay, I didn't know if he had started.
No, everything is stalled
Okay.
right now.
Cool, that's it for me. Does Jeannie have anything left to report on?
As you do. So, the action item is Academy Street project. Contractor can start the rebuild of Academy Street wall next week. If you remember, the original quote was for $34,900. I have the proposal here. He has reduced the price to $25,900. And I went back and looked through all the minutes, actually, they're attached to the back there, just to, because it's gone on so long, I just couldn't remember if approvals had been given or not, and the last way we left it with the selectmen was that Kevin was gonna get a project timeline and a contract from Humiston, and that's what he did, that's what you have in front of you. And the question is do you wanna move forward?
Definitely.
I do. Where would we get the 25,000 from?
Well, there was money put in the budget for that.
Okay. Then yes, I do want to go forward.
I think for me, the next step would, I'd want to make sure the water company knows about it and that they're good with it. And I need to, there a couple little details I got to take care of before I can actually start, but just wanted to see if you're ready for this to go forward. And there are not 5 signature lines, so you'll just have to sign.
We'll give him a break, it's a contract.
Motion to have the contractor
How much the,
rebuild the retaining wall on Academy Street. And I don't have the price, what is it?
25.9?
25.9?
Second.
Accept the proposal.
Is there any kind of guarantees that go with this? You're gonna build a wall,
Well,
which may or may not take care of the problem.
well, you remember, he's gonna keep the current wall in place and then put material, up against that, so almost like a second wall.
So, I have the question, I don't know if it was ever asked. It probably was, but it was too long ago, I apologize for not remembering. Do we, the town, own enough land there for him to build that extra wall? Or are we on water district land?
How thick is it? There's not much room there.
I believe so, but that's a good question. And I would look into that.
It's like to ask, I apologize.
Well, I feel like the answer is yes, but
I do too.
we need to check that. I'll check that.
Well, we can ask the water district where their line is, and we'll say this is where we plan to go.
Yeah,
We believe it's our land.
yeah.
I believe that property was owned by the town.
I'm a little confused.
The water district.
It says to build a retaining wall, build rock wall, a machine-built rock wall to retain an existing wall for 140 feet by 5 feet. That's more than 5 feet high there. So he's only gonna make his about 5 feet?
I thought
It's
it meant
5 feet
out.
wide, and he's running up the bank.
Yeah.
I thought it was 5 feet out. and
Yeah.
The height was gonna be variable because it.
Mhm.
140 linear feet, 5 feet
That's
out
why
from
I
the
asked,
wall.
do we own 5 feet?
See, I would think that he'd say to grade level of the road or something, add that on there.
No, he's describing the run he's doing. He's going 140 feet long, and it's going to go up 5 feet up to the
It
other one.
doesn't say 5 feet up.
No, it's 5 feet wide.
It
John,
doesn't say 5 feet wide either. It just said 5 feet.
we have a wall. Here's the existing wall. He's putting in a new wall, 140 feet, 5 feet wide. That's what he says right
That's
there.
fine, but
That's what it says there.
140 feet by 5 feet.
Yes.
It doesn't say 5 feet wide or 5 feet tall.
Length and width. The length of the wall, he's going 5 feet out, and then he's going right up the
That's your
side.
understanding of this. My understanding is it's 5 feet high, and both would be valid.
And I'm
And it's
happy
a contract,
to
it'd
take
be
it back
easy. You can
and
just
ask
write
the
on that.
question. You can wait another week.
Yeah, you can just put be a little more descriptive, so there's no misunderstanding in the end.
That's why I decided
Can we vote on it?
to check.
Well, and not to bring any pressure on you all, but
Season's running out.
We-
It's time.
If we
Yeah.
want to vote on it, saying that that would include the grade level of the road,
John, how's a 5-foot wall going to retain a 20-foot wall? It isn't. He's got to go the whole length to stabilize the wall.
put it down there. Giving the guy
So,
$25,000.
the manifest had the deposit for this project?
Well, I didn't get it,
You're gonna
the
look at
contract
it?
never made it to the black hole.
you mean, what? Wants to
Janie.
Clarified.
We never got to see that. Could we?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
In the manifest, wasn't
That
there a
part-
partial payment?
Yes.
Yeah, we've already
So you can
signed for
hold it
that.
out until we agree.
Oh, yeah.
Can we vote on the motion?
Well,
I didn't want to assume, but I figured you would.
Okay, so.
All in question, please.
We have a motion, and who seconded it?
I did.
Peter,
Peter.
seconded.
And I just, for discussion, I just want to say, I don't think we should be voting on a motion that all of us haven't even looked at yet.
I looked at it.
Okay, so we've all looked at it. So, all those in favor of just signing it as is, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, if you come back, it'll be next year.
I'd like to make a motion that if he intends to do it to the grade level of Academy Street by 140 by 5 feet, that we appoint a person to sign that.
So you want,
So are you making a suggestion that we agree tonight on those conditions?
Yes.
Could you add on whether or not we actually own the 5 feet out?
And verification.
That was a
It's on our
discussion
property.
before.
It was?
That's funny, I can do that.
I don't remember it.
Kevin said that we did in fact own that.
Except,
So we have a motion. So
What
do we
did-
have a second yet before we go to
Second.
discussion?
I'll second.
And we have a
the
second.
Discussion, we're already discussion.
No.
could you give me the motion again?
To, if the contractor adds on, that will be 140 feet by 5 feet to the grade level of Academy Street, and also that we own the 5 feet of property that will be placed on.
That will be,
That it?
be me, not him,
Okay.
okay.
And that was second discussion.
So when we had I remember the discussion with Kevin, he made, I think, an assumption that all town roads are X feet wide. But in this area of town, some was by prescription, some was, citizens would say, we want you to build a road. High Street to Cedar was one of those, we want you to build a road and here's the land. So we don't really know.
And the way the motion's read, if we don't own it, it's not going forward at this point.
So, we don't really know. We might have to get something from the water district. But I'm pretty sure the town owned them because many years ago,
They asked permission to
Dave
build that.
Watley asked me what it would cost to put a concrete retaining wall there.
Right.
And that has to have been 30 years ago. Dave Watley, at that time, I believe they were using that property. There was some kind of town garage there. Not where their building is, but as you go into the left.
But
Maybe
they
I'm wrong.
also came, when they built that garage, they came to us.
I may be wrong.
In that back corner, they came to us with permission to do that.
The retaining wall?
No, the back of the garage.
So, if we don't own it, maybe
What's in the
that's.
setback?
Right, so if we don't own it, we don't build it. We just ask for, or we ask them for an easement, and then we build it. Simple as that.
Yes, but you can't move forward till you have the easement.
Right. It won't take long to get an easement.
No,
Because they
construction
would-
season is ending quick.
But they really would love us to help with that project because it's spilling into
I
their
understand, but
building.
contractors have got jobs lined up. If he's got this window and now you close it, he may say, sorry, I can't get to you till next April. That's my only concern.
Call the question.
Okay, call a question. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed?
Me.
So moved.
Thank you. The next action item, the same contractor can start the removal of the capstones from the Winnipesaukee River. And I have his quote here for that. He has signed off on the DES permit. If you recall, you all signed off on that last week, the conditions that he has to meet. to do that work.
So Aaron, this was back in the spring, I think. Did they just set on top, or they actually grouted, or
They were,
anchored in there with
they were
something?
set on top.
So they're just sitting there. So he's gonna put them back, just sitting there, and then when they put the railing in, I assume that also helps to keep them up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So, do we have quotes for fencing?
railing, yes.
Rail.
Yeah.
How are they anchoring them? They're not anchoring them to the capstone, right? They're gonna go beyond the capstone?
Really?
That meeting?
Huh?
You were in that meeting.
I know, but I don't
It
remember.
was so long
The
ago.
railing was only to the capstone.
Mhm.
So if the capstones are not anchored in or held in place,
It's probably drilled in,
I never got
Water,
over
I don't know.
and see if there were actually holes that went through the capstone into the granite blocks.
Going into the capstone.
I have no
Well, they
idea.
weren't grouted in there the last
They weren't
time.
mortared or cement or set.
The plan was to do exactly what was there before in terms of how the railing in the, I can't answer that question. If the railing went through the capstone down to the next,
can't imagine.
the fence company looked at it and actually came back and said, because they had just done a job similar to that in another location, and said, if we have to do this additional work, it's gonna cost some more, because it's a tough job. So, my understanding is that they're going to do exactly what was done prior. So however those are, because that's what he looked at when he was out there with us, is how they were put in, anchored before.
I'm okay with them bringing the capstones up. I probably have more questions before we went forward with the railing.
Yes, and I think that's, I was hoping that railing was gonna get done this year, and I'm not sure with True Green, that's gonna actually happen, because we're
Step
talking
one.
about $12,000 to $15,000, and $2,500 to get the capstones back. I think that's
We can
doable,
call her
but
and start her with that. Okay. I'm good,
Yes.
thank
Any
you.
more, all those in, there was a motion, wasn't
I'll make a motion.
there? There is no, right? Ed
Yep.
has one.
I made it.
Accept
Humiston's proposal for $2,500 to remove the capstones from the river.
I'll second, Peter second.
Point of
Discussion?
information. Yeah, Humiston was the guy who's building the rock wall over on Academy Street. He's also doing this.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, all those,
So, I just want to go back, because I don't know what that means. So I just want to kind of do a recap of where we started. With Academy Street, you remember we did RFPs to do the engineering, just to do the study of what was going on. It was like $35,000. I also it's been so long. But there was, I think it was Beck and Bellucci, if you remember, they came and looked at it. They also looked at the other, the capstone project, and said they didn't have time for that.
I was just curious.
Okay.
That's all. It says, she said Humiston, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute, wasn't that the last motion? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Cool.
all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Unanimous.
Next item,
Who's gonna sign it? We can all sign it.
Yeah, it'd just be in here, we can come and sign.
Oh, this one right here, it's, you can sign on
I guess, well,
that. Yep.
Oh, you can just hold it.
So, are we holding that for some reason?
I'm still thinking about Joe. He flipped me back to the Academy.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure.
What's going on to your
Yeah, it's my fault.
You can blame somebody.
The New Hampshire DOT announced they're accepting applications for a Section 5310 capital projects. Pat noticed this, brought this to my attention. The program supports acquisition of accessible vehicles and other capital equipment. The match is 85% from the feds, 7.5% from the state, and there would be a 7.5% from the local. I looked at the grant application very quickly. I need to read through it. But if we were looking to purchase a vehicle for the seniors, which I think is what Pat has an interest in, the highest number I saw them quote was $70,000. Assuming $70,000, that would be, I'd want to budget $6,000 in our budget if we were going to try, because that would be our match. And then there $6,000 from the state, and then the rest would be the feds, assuming that we were successful in the application. So my question to all of you is, would you like me to pursue this?
Absolutely. It would be a huge help to the senior center. And Cindy Yansky, who is the director of the Community Action Program, would be delighted to help write the proposal with you. It's a much needed convenience, if you would. There are several times in several events that happen throughout the day that it could be used for, to pick up seniors that are not available and that do not meet the schedule for the community transit, and community transit is limited, and that they cannot get access to the transit busing, and that would love to go up to the senior center. They have, as you know, the Wednesday night group, although I don't know if we could fit more people in there on a Wednesday night group, but we could perhaps maybe expand it to another night and an additional night because it's so successful. But we do have events up there that are very successful, and that people are not going to the events because they either don't drive at night or they don't have ridership to and from it. And also next year is our 10th year opening for our senior center. Imagine 10 years. And we would love to start taking them to simple places, maybe a campfire at Gunstock one night, things like that. Hall Memorial Library for an afternoon event. Maybe over to the Trip for an event that happens. There's lots and lots and lots of different places, and not just exclusive to the senior center, by the way. It would be a town of Tilton vehicle, but not exclusive just to the senior center. But for $6,000 to have a wheelchair accessible vehicle to us is huge.
Joe,
Who would be in the vehicle?
Who would we?
This is a $90,000 machine. Right in that ballpark, if where $6,000 is 7.5%.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff, gadgets and gizmos. Who does the maintenance on this thing? How do we pay for it?
So-
What's the ongoing cost of that? Is that Kevin?
Public Works would be able to maintain it. I'm
Every
almost
vehicle, don't you void the warranty? If you
No, I mean, whoever we get the vehicle from would do the warranty work, absolutely. But after the warranty work is done, it would be Kevin. But in the town, as far as driving the vehicle, there would be volunteers that would have to be certified. You'd have to be licensed, of course, to be driving the vehicle, depending on what size vehicle we get, how many passengers requires licensing, different type of licensings. And then Community Action Program has training programs for that and licensing and so on. Licensing through the DMV, but as far as training, certification and things like that, they have all those kinds of programs.
So the town would own the van
That's
as
correct.
opposed to the senior center specifically?
That's correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we don't have a 501c3 separate. This would all be a town program, but we would be the preferred user of the senior center. Going, the senior center would be the preferred
Wheelchair
user.
van, I mean, seems like that would be the logical spot.
And I think it's great, especially that it's not just for the senior center, it's for other senior or disabled people in town to help out, especially with the lack of that type of transportation in this area. I think it would be nice to find out so we can make a budget for gas or diesel. Is it gas or diesel? So
You
that,
can get both. You can get either.
yeah, so if we go with gas or if we go with diesel, what would the operating cost for fuel be a year and how would that be covered?
Perhaps maybe
It
we
would
can.
cost money, and it would be a town vehicle, just like a police car.
Yeah, except the kids, they don't get great mileage. And I don't doubt that somehow we can figure this out
Yeah.
because the
We
donations
have
that
a
come in
time
for the senior
constraint on
center.
the grant monies. To explore the grant, we have a time constraint
October 29th is the deadline to
Right.
submit the grant.
to submit it. It's not necessarily that we'll get it, but to submit it.
If we do get it and accept it, and we
We can find out all that information and we can say no to it once, if you feel that it's not if we have that information and you say it's not feasible, we can say no to it. I'm sorry, we'll nig on it. And
I would like to make a motion to apply for the grant in order to get a vehicle for the town of Tilton for the seniors.
I'll second that. But I think that for further discussion, I think that Jeannie and I, and we can work closely with Cindy, and Cindy has all of the data as far as operating expenses and things like that, what it would cost for a year for operating expenses for, it would be a little bit different for them, would be a little higher cost because they use it daily. We wouldn't be using it, they use it from senior center to senior center to senior center. Ours be a little bit more local, so it would be a little bit less, but we could use those figures for the worst case scenario kind of thing.
those to apply for the grant.
To make application for
Okay.
it. That's good.
I have something to say.
Catherine?
Excuse me, that wasn't it. Personally, I recognize what a valuable thing the senior center is. However, I do remember at town meeting when we were creating the senior center, a promise was made. And it had to do with the costs that would be passed on to the taxpayers of the senior center. Now, we've exceeded those costs. We cover more things now than what we promised we would. Personally, I don't have a problem with that because, again, I think it's necessary for the senior center to exist for us, that we need to do that. This, however, is above and beyond. This vehicle is a perpetual expense. It's going to be insurance, undoubtedly damage, maintenance, fuel, etc., etc. I can't overlook that promise that we made, that we wouldn't incur extra costs.
I would like to say that in no way did that in my motion include buying a vehicle. I just wanted to make application to see if we're even eligible to be in this program. the decision to budget $6,000 or to actually buy a vehicle is not addressed in my motion.
But one usually leads into the other.
So we will have to decide on it again at this table, and correct, the way that motion works?
Yeah.
Okay. Peter?
If we buy said vehicle, I don't think we're saying we're limiting it to transporting seniors only, are we? We could use it for any resident in town, so that, yeah, it may be predominantly seniors, but we're servicing all.
You're serving a small portion of your community. But it is intended to be, I mean, that's what we've talked about. We've intended it to be, and it says here, do you want to apply for a vehicle for the senior center?
Mhm.
The intent is it'll be primarily used for the senior center.
Okay.
And that's what the grant is based on.
So I have something to say, because 10 years ago, there was a gentleman that stood up and made a presentation to the town, and he made a promise that I guess has been used against him now for a long time. And every once in a while it comes back to fruition like it did tonight. And I'm sure that there's plenty of us sitting here tonight that have said something at town meeting that wished we hadn't said anything at town meeting. But that man is no longer even in Tilton, never mind associated with the senior center. And the senior center goes out and fundraises every single year, and the $20,000 that they initially gave us turned out to hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and donations, and it is what it is today. And I will defend it to the nth degree on that. And I'm just so tired of hearing about this promise that this man made.
The residents remind us, or at least me.
No, Catherine reminds us.
There was a promise of the Pines also, that they'd be sold.
Yeah, and you know, and that was the next thing out of my mouth. There's plenty of promises that a lot of people make, and they haven't. And the senior center has kept, you know, I can't even tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars that we have shaped into an amazing, heartwarming place up there. And, you know, we don't come back and say, like other towns, and their budgets are hundreds of thousands of dollars for their seniors every year. And they don't, and they fundraise it. And the problem is with this vehicle, we cannot go out and fundraise for this vehicle because it's under the town of Tilton. We can't legally own a vehicle because we're not a separate 501c3. Now, if we went out and did a 501c3, we wouldn't be in the building because you'd kick us out because we're a separate 501c3. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place here. And we're doing our own fundraising and putting money in the coffers for doing a lot of things for our seniors up there and a lot of things for a lot of people up there. Not just in that building, for a lot of, we resource out and network out for a lot of different things that the seniors need. And it's amazing what we do. But we can't go out and say, you know, that $6,000 that we're asking the town to say, could you please, you know, budget this so that we can go out and apply for a grant and so that we can have match money to get this vehicle for the town of Tilton? Because we're not under the town of Tilton. We don't have any legal access to it because we're not the town of Tilton. We don't have a 501c3. And if we did, you'd say, oh, you're on your own now, see you later, bye. And by the way, pay us rent and do all this kind of stuff. So we're kind of caught between no man's land here. So we come here and say, look, it can be used for a lot of different things. If the police department said, hey, you know what, we could use a van right now and this is what we could use it for, you wouldn't have blinked an eye here at this.
Oh, I would.
It's you know, it's $70,000 vehicle and we could get it here for $6,000. You know? Shame on us.
Joe?
I call the question.
So is everybody clear what the motion was?
Yeah, my only concern is why vote yes unless we're gonna proceed?
Exactly.
So
And if I could just weigh in, I agree
Joe,
with
Joe
that.
called the question, so I get a,
I called the question many times before tonight, you didn't act on it. Now you're gonna call the question?
I would like to hear what Judy has to say.
Point of order.
It may affect.
no, I'm gonna say, he called the question, I'm gonna
Okay, I
move forward,
called
I'm
the
gonna call the
question.
question, let's vote on it. And that stuff.
Shame
And,
on you.
All those in favor of
Shame
his
on
motion,
you.
say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
Aye.
there's one against. It moves forward.
Shame
There's
on
only
you.
one way I can vote.
Okay.
And I didn't know that Robert's Rules of Order was.
Oh my God, I couldn't
was
believe you
the way
did
we
that,
were
John.
Conducting this meeting.
Disenfranchise the
Much
board.
more relaxed, much more.
Well, let me say this, these things turn into bickerings, where people repeat the exact same thing over and over and over, and somebody called the question because that's the way they felt.
What happened to the 2 times before I called the question and you
What
kept
2
on going?
times?
Tonight. Oh, did you forget that?
I didn't hear.
I didn't hear you call the question,
Well,
so.
there'll be another discussion later.
Yeah, this is coming up again.
Remember what you were going to say.
Oh, I could probably say it now.
You can
I
say it now,
yeah.
Just want to say that writing a grant takes significant effort, so I
Mm-hmm.
would hate to be
Thank you.
spending time writing a grant that really
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to go anywhere. Taking me away from other.
Doesn't matter, it's just for the seniors.
All right, so in your FYI, I just wanted to point out that there is a document.
I interrupted. Didn't we have a motion on the table? Besides calling the question, we still had a motion, didn't we?
We voted on the motion.
No, we voted on the motion to call the question.
No. No, we
I
didn't
didn't
even
know.
vote
We're
on
in
it. We
discussion.
didn't even vote on it.
When you vote on a motion to call the question, you voted to end discussion and vote on the motion. So we had a motion to go forward with this grant, did we not?
There was a motion to call the question, the motion was not to end discussion. They called the question.
Okay, then that would actually
I've
be-
never seen a vote on calling the question.
Yeah, I haven't ever
Oh, then I've totally misunderstood what he was asking for. Wow, okay.
That's what I said, wow.
So in your FYI, there's a document, Economic Revitalization Zones. If you could take a look at that, I mentioned that to you, I think during our goal setting. It's one of the things that we can do to be more business friendly. It is something that months and months ago, I think just right after I came here, I actually met with Sea Light, and they were interested in pursuing this, and the time is coming up when if we're going to do this, we need to do it. So I'd like you to take a look at that, see if you're amenable to that, and when next we meet, we can talk about it. If you have any questions, happy to bring somebody from the state here if you would like. I just need to do it, or we need to do it before the end of the year. So we're not in any hurry. I just want to start the conversation.
So by creating the economic revitalization zone with that client, they're in turn guaranteeing future jobs.
They only have the ability to get that if they create jobs.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
If you create the zone, does it open up the area around them? Or is it just their area?
It's their area, and I
Their
did-
building only?
Well, I didn't bring the map up with me because I
So
wasn't
is it other-
expecting a conversation. I can bring that the next time.
So it's not additional lots,
They
other
have-
businesses around them?
They'd have to apply individually,
Right,
correct?
yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to let you know that I have sent out some emails about reminding employees about paid time off and buyouts before the end of the year, and we have had questions, so people are paying attention. Did have a question from an employee, a part-time employee. We have, and I looked in the personnel policy, couldn't find anything, but we prorate for part-time employees paid time off. The question was asked, would this employee have the ability to carry over like we have for employees now? They can carry over 60 hours. She wanted to know, does she need to use all her time, or could she carry that over? I'm assuming that it would be just like the paid time off, prorated, and that you'd allow it, but I don't know, and it wasn't in the policy, so I wanted to ask a question.
We've allowed it, it depends on how many years they have.
I thought there was something in the policy about part-time. I was-
There is about paid time off, but you just made a really good point that
It depends on how many years
yeah,
they have.
she hasn't been here that long.
Okay. I think it's over 5 years before they can
7.
carry over.
Yeah.
7, okay, yeah.
Because last year as a part-time employee, I was told I couldn't carry over, and I said, wait a minute, I've been carrying over for a couple of years now. Oh no, you have to use it all up, so I did. And then I was told in January, oh, by the way, you could have carried it over.
Yeah,
And it wasn't for you.
right. So yes, you can, it goes with
It didn't
the
matter for me.
part-time
but
or
it-
full-time, you can
Carry over, but
Prorate.
it's prorated.
prorate it, correct.
Okay. And for a buyout, not a buyout, a carryover. I'm getting myself
Carryover,
confused.
there is no buyout on that,
I know.
right?
Yeah, okay, I have a part-time.
Right.
Right.
So there was on the agenda this issue of the notice of violation, which we took off the agenda. And John, I think you wanted to, did you want to have this discussion, or did you want to wait on this discussion?
Well, I just didn't understand, I guess the problem was that what laws we use to enforce violations, are they the state or the federal, or, I don't understand.
So, the state of New Hampshire adopted the 2009 codes. That's the International Building Code, the Residential Code, Plumbing Code, Mechanical Code, and the National Electric Code, which is kind of becoming NEFA, National, the fire district uses.
And FPA.
Yeah, thank you. Those are the codes. There is a committee down at the Department of Safety that looks at all these codes, and periodically they might make changes or updates. So we're not using 2019, or we use 2009 with whatever changes that committee makes to it.
I guess there was a question whether we're using a residential or a commercial code, or, and in particular it was
So
a window in a
for
bathroom.
Apartment buildings, it's the International Building Code. For single-family homes, duplexes, and townhouses, it's the residential code. They all are covered under the mechanical code, the plumbing code, and the electrical codes. But you have to go to, again, apartment buildings, well, and there's other thing in apartment buildings, but I only concern myself with the apartment buildings. You have to go to that first, and that will refer you to the others. The residential code's the same way, you go to that first, and then you're referred to the others.
And that, and that's, I've spoken with Earl in this, Department of Safety, he's the Office of the Fire Marshal, and he said essentially what you just said, Catherine, other than he said in the International Residential Code, it does not refer you to mechanical. So in that situation, in a situation that we're
Actually,
discussing,
it does.
that,
I can show you where it does.
yeah. He said that you could either have a window or an exhaust fan, one or the other.
I should tell you, though, that's not a decision that I make. In those codes, in the beginning, there is a statement that says that your code enforcement officer has the ability to, I don't want to say override the codes, but essentially interpret the codes, let's put it that way. And that's what happens. So with this particular mechanical vents and bathrooms, both codes talk about window size. The International Building Code, and I didn't get the ruling, but Al did. He spoke to someone down there, and I don't believe it was our Middlemass, because he's the mechanical engineer. It was a different person who, and I don't remember if it was email or texted him back, but I did see it, said that all bathrooms and shower tubs and spas will have mechanical ventilation. That's in the International Building Code. In the residential code, there is a section that talks about bathrooms. It isn't as clear as the residential code, the building code. And underneath that, it talks about mechanical ventilation, because if the window space, and I think, has to be at least 3 square feet, and I believe it's half of it has to be openable. If that doesn't require, then it has to have ventilation. And it refers you to the mechanical code. So if you go into the mechanical code and you look under bathrooms, it talks about single, multiple, and I can't think of what the third is, and they're describing buildings. It lists different things, and then on the bottom it says bathrooms, and there's a little G beside it, and you have to go to the notes. In the notes, it says that bathrooms must have mechanical ventilation. So Al and I discussed this, all of this. Books were out, read it all. It's ultimately his decision. He made that decision. He has that ability. I can't interpret the codes. I spoke to Al. Pat came and saw me, and I immediately, I told her I'd check with Al. I called up Al and told him the situation, and he contacted, I don't know if he talked to Mr. Middlemass or the person that he contacted originally. And they had a conversation, and I can't tell you what that was because I wasn't part of it, but Al came to the conclusion that he is going to go with what Mr. Middlemass suggested, and that
Middlemass.
Middlemass. What am I saying? Miss?
Mouse.
Mass. It's M-A-S-S. Middlemass. That in this situation, a mechanical vent is not going to be required. I said, okay, that's, he's telling me, so I was going to let you know, but that's what they concluded. But it's ultimately up to, so Al had the capability of saying to him, no, under the circumstances, for whatever reason, I'm going to go with all bathrooms requiring mechanical vents, which subs, towers, and spas.
So when I heard all this going on, I think about the windows, so I asked, and I work in homes that are $7, $8 million homes, and one of the ones I went into
Single
2
family?
weeks ago, single family, and I went into it, and they have a bathroom underneath the staircase.
Does it have a tub, shower, or spa?
No, but they said toilet.
What's the difference?
And I also went to another one up on Swan Lake that had a shower and all that, and just the window, and these were just built. And these building inspectors are allowing this up there, but is it illegal or not? And so I'm wondering, are we really following the right rules, or will there be
Yes.
touching gray areas where
Oh, you're always going to touch gray areas in
that
these codes.
we could be telling somebody, well, you guys shut down your house and your livelihood and how you earn your money
No.
based on how somebody interprets whether you should have a window or a mechanical vent.
So as we go through these inspections, And this property owner is not the first one that's questioned a decision that was made. Happens often. We say, in fact, when we saw this, I believe I commented, this is a duplex that's covered under the residential code. We're gonna have to go back and research it. We often are questioned, well, do I really have to do this? So here is one, I get this all the time. The code for apartment buildings. GFCI switches are required in all counters and kitchens. GFCI switches are required in all bathrooms.
In all switches? I thought you only needed one on the circuit, because that's what interrupts it. It's not every,
That makes them all GFCI.
huh?
That makes them all GFCI.
Okay, well, the way you said it was every single one has to be, which is...
Well, they do, but they don't have to be the,
Protected.
what you're looking at, the GFCI. I should have said protected,
Okay.
but it doesn't, anyway. So the one I get the most is, and I just got it yesterday, is, oh, when did they change the code? Well, they didn't. What they get confused is, it also says in there that, because I check every time it's said to me, that all outlets within 6 feet of the rim of a sink have to be GFCI protected. But the code hasn't changed. I mean, it goes and I looked, in 2008, the code said all counters in kitchen, all outlets serving counters in kitchens must be GFCI protected. So I have to all the time, and Al is very good about contacting the Department of Safety if we have a question. And again, there, and I can show you in the books where it does say that he has the ability to interpret that and make a conclusion. Then when Middle Mass came up to see me when he was in town hall, and he said that to me when he was up here, that he can't overrule a decision of the code enforcement officer of the town. And I said, well,
Unless, let's say the code enforcement made an error.
No, he can't.
He can point it out.
He can't. He can advise
Oh,
you.
can't. I thought you meant the resident.
He can't.
oh,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
the Department of Safety cannot overrule the code enforcement officer. But like I said, he tries to be very careful. I said, well, I go to him, we have a conversation about it, we look through the books, and then he contacts them down there. And we're not having fast with this inspections. We work with people, the three of us have discussions about, it's like, so extension cords. Extension cords are not supposed to be used in place of permanent wiring in a structure. So, that's the literal interpretation of it. They're not supposed to be used in place of permanent wiring. However, the fire department allows them to be used for very low voltage items in a safe manner. So if you have somebody who has computers, televisions, low voltage, and they want to have a relocatable power strip plugged in, because that's a type of extension cord, he allows that. So we had a discussion early on because we were contradicting. And I said, well, I'm certainly going to defer to you. He's the fellow who burned up extension cords under his desk. And he tried to say it's safe. But he does draw the line when you have a high voltage like air conditioning and refrigerators, microwaves plugged into the extension cord to relocate the power strips. So, and in this case, he did. He had a ruling from them that said, and it didn't differentiate. And when we found the clause in the mechanical code, which I said, I only went there because I was looking at the stairhead, and I had to go back and measure the window. But when I found that clause, that
So many square
specifically,
feet, it has to open up 50%.
right, and when I found the clause that stated all bathrooms must be, I said, well, yeah, look at this.
So if it passes the so many square feet and opens up halfway, you stop there. So if it's- I think
No,
it's
because
like-
of, not because of the
No.
footnote. The
No,
footnote
The
So
footnotes
he-
and something else.
No.
He had a conversation, like I said, I wasn't part of the conversation. I have no idea what was said. I don't have to. He made the decision.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're talking about it. I took my name off of the agenda for a reason. But now you're having a conversation about this, so I feel like I should weigh in on this conversation. And I really didn't want to because I thought I owed at least the code enforcement a conversation because there's a huge misunderstanding. And me as a selectman, I had this misunderstanding, so I can, the public out there, if I had this misunderstanding, I mean, I don't consider myself stupid, but I went to Catherine with this because Catherine was the one that wrote the violation. So I went directly to Catherine. This is my house, Kim and I, and it happened to us. And I did the research and the homework that I needed to do. I went to a couple of electricians and I went to Earl Middlemess. It explained to me about an exhaust fan in the bedroom. By the way, I mean, no disrespect to Catherine or any of the inspectors, it was a very educational inspection. It really was. I learned a great deal about a lot of things. So the question was, and Catherine stated it correctly, they were unsure. They said they'd get back to me, and Kim and I got a letter of violation. But the violation, what confused me is it says the owner is Kim Souls, and it says help from Catherine. And it states from the town of Tilton, and then it states the violation. The bathroom does not have mechanical ventilation as per International Mechanical Code section and International Building Code section, blah, blah, blah. Failure to complete the corrective action on it before, you have so much time. And then it says, per order of Catherine Dawson, the Tilton Health Officer. And it says, you may appeal this decision to the Tilton Board of Health, which we are. So I went to Jeannie and said, I've spoken with this gentleman and I've spoken with a couple of electricians, and I found out the information and research that I needed to find out to say I have enough for an appeal. But I went to Catherine and found out that it really is Al that I should be going to, not Catherine, because it's not a health violation, it's a code violation. And so this was my confusion, was the notice of violation, because it came from Catherine. And I got different information than what Catherine got from this Earl Middlemess.
That's true.
And he did say it's an either-or situation with an exhaust fan. I spoke with my electrician. My tenant had an air conditioner plugged into an extension cord, and Tim Joubert said, you might want to get a electrical outlet. So I had the electrician there last week, and I moved the electrical outlet over for safety. And I said, I need you to look at this again. He said, Pat, I'm sorry, but you don't need, under the International Residential Code, an exhaust fan under the code. You do not. You have a window. It's a 2-foot by 3-foot window, operational, so on and so forth. Now, I've spoken to 2 electricians and this guy under the fire marshal's purview for the state, telling me the same thing. So I wanted to offer a conversation with the code enforcement officer because I went to the health officer first, and I didn't go to Al. And so Catherine has different information from Al now, and I didn't, and you brought it up on the agenda. I took it off the agenda for that specific reason. What confuses me is that the violation went out under Catherine's name, and that's why it went back to Catherine, and I still don't understand why it went under Catherine's name, but that's neither here nor there tonight. But that's why I wanted to square this away. Yes, I do have a question, and I'm sure there's a ton of other people who would have the same kind of question.
I guess, and what my question is, and my concern is that there might be other people that get told, okay, you don't have a mechanical fan in your bathroom or exhaust, so you have to do it, and then they go and pay an electrician $3,000 because they didn't appeal it, that they didn't necessarily have to spend.
Right.
So what I'm saying is why, which law are we going by, or which RSA or whatever are we going by, and do we go by that one only until somebody appeals it? Or you
He
understand what I'm
did
saying?
say,
So
he,
the code enforcement officer, when he made the original decision, when it first came out, the mechanical vent, the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. When the question first came out, and he said, okay, we've got a decision, and as we go out forward, the reasoning is, it's not a single-family home. Live free or die, you're only affecting yourself, you're not affecting somebody else. The reason for a mechanical vent, a bathroom that has tub showers or spas, they create a lot of moisture, is to draw the moisture out so there's no chance of mold, which is a health issue. So if I'm in a three-family home, and I'm saying this from discussion, if I'm in a three-family building, they're required to have a mechanical vent if they have a tub shower spot, whether they have a patio door for a window or not. If you have a building that only has 2 apartments in it, the danger still exists. You're still creating moisture. If you're not drying it out, you still have a possibility of mold growing. Is a health hazard.
But you
So-
can open the window.
Well, you could in a
You're allowed to.
you could in a three-family.
You're allowed to in a two-family, but
You're
you're not
not
allowed
listening, you
to.
didn't listen to me. He has, as a code enforcement officer, he has the ability to make that decision. It's stated in the book.
So it might be okay for one person as a two-family house to have a mechanical vent, and then the next person say, no, you don't need it.
No, he was
See,
made.
that's where I'm confused. Is it just me?
I think so.
Do we have to sit down?
Maybe I'm not
Talk, you and I,
translating well.
and have a
Well,
beer
when I-
over
Well, the
it?
hard thing is Al
Sure.
isn't here, but he made
Right.
that decision based on the first conversation he had with the gentleman down there. And that was months ago.
but if it's a three-person house, it goes under the International Business Code. It does not go under the International Resident Code. An International Resident Code,
And under the International Resident Code, he has, it's stated in there, he has the ability to make those decisions. His is the final interpretation.
either
That's
way,
what your Little Mass said.
right.
So if it's a two-family, he could decide one way or the other,
Well, he
like
didn't
in
go.
indoor mechanical.
He didn't. Whatever conversation took place today, he changed his mind on duplexes.
Okay, but prior, we had, if it was a two-family, people were being told that they need to install mechanical, and some people may have done it.
Well, I'm trying to think if we've done any two families before
So
that one,
is
because
it-
we're about to do, and I have the code out on my book, but we're about to do a bunch of them.
So is the point that you're trying to make, if going forward now, if it's a duplex and it has a window, it doesn't need, that's the,
An adequately
that's what
sized
you're-
window.
that's,
Absolutely so.
well, I think that's what you're looking for, is you just want to be consistent going forward.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he, when I talked to him tonight, and I'll talk to him more Tuesday when we have an inspection, and maybe he can explain to me, you know, what the person said to make him change his mind. But his first decision was also based on a conversation, I'm repeating myself, with a person from the Department of Safety.
Okay. We'll have to have a beer over this.
And I will say,
I understand.
the reason these go out just under me is because there's so much overlap in these codes. So the health officer goes out and looks at these things, and the quality of the air in the building is one of them. Ventilation is one of them. The way we've separated it is, so I look at electricals, I look at extension cord use, like blah, 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 blah. Deputy Chief Tim takes it to another level. He's looking in fuse boxes, he's looking in, he's going to another level. Al and I, there's much more overlap. So we had a conversation early on, it didn't make sense for him to send out a notice that's gonna say 90% of what I'm sending out. So
Joe?
But, see, I have a question on that. You said in the conversation that you had no authority in that area because it was a code and it was Al and Al.
No, I didn't have authority to, maybe I misspoke, interpret the code. I have no authority to interpret the codes, to look at them and
The housing,
say,
the building code.
right,
And this was a building code violation.
this is
Correct.
this,
It was issued as a building code violation, correct?
yes.
Okay, so why did the health officer send a violation? That seems confusing to me.
Because the things that the health officer, internal air, is part of the residential code and the building code. What the health officer.
So if I were a resident and not a selectman, and not knowing what to do, and I would end up going to you and you say, go to Al. It's kind of confusing to that person. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying, because it is overlapping, because it's air quality, it's this, that. I understand that because I'm a selectman. But if you think about the average daily person that doesn't think in terms of health officer, code enforcement, and fire, it maybe it could say per order of code enforcement and health officer, and then maybe they could go to both of them.
Well,
to eliminate it.
just what happened today.
Yeah,
When I said to you, when you came to me, there needs to be a conversation with Al.
I was embarrassed.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
I-
Well, I know, people come,
Because I didn't
so,
know.
like I said, you're not the only one. People call up, they come in, can we talk about this? We have another property that is much more complicated than that, and we're working with him, and we met with him, the two of us, and had that conversation with him together, because there's elements of it that, you know, I'm enforcing, because it has to do with air quality and ventilation of the building. And Al is looking more structural, well, how's this gonna take place? Because it can only take place this way. So, we do have those conversations together, just like I said to you today, you know, we need to bring Al into this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
question down there.
I'm sorry.
So, is there a way to structure such letters where if you have a violation 1, questions, please contact health officer. Violation 2, please contact code enforcement, so the people, if they want to appeal, can start in the right place. Can you do that?
I can change the language on the bottom, that's a template that was given to me to use, and I can certainly change that to try to clarify.
Let them know, you know, the first order you should talk to this person, so they don't have to hit multiple.
Well, they really do have to talk to multiple, because like
Well-
I said, it's,
Yeah, but apparently we didn't know it was more Al on this one because it came straight from you. That's all I'm trying to say, is to
yeah,
spell it.
I can definitely change the language on the bottom. That would help clarify that.
I think for the resident, it would be a little bit better just to have either, both names or whatever on it, because I would have made the appointment with, you know, Al a little sooner. I know you're available most all the time during the day. He's not. I know that. Now I'm waiting until next
That's
week
another
to get
reason
in
why
touch
we
with
did it this way.
him, and the time is ticking on, you know, the clock, but.
And the thing is, I just don't want to cause some residents undue anxieties to emergency take their last $5,000 or something and construct a vent or something that they never really needed. That it was just an error or misinterpretation.
It wasn't an error, and it wasn't misinterpretation, I told you. It was
Yeah.
based on, okay. I explained to you that,
Somebody was notified.
I explained to you
they
that
need
the
to have it.
condition why you would require it in 3 or 4
Yes.
or 5 is the same condition exists in a 2. You're gonna, you, more
Once you get
chance of-
past 1, you're in
more
trouble.
chance of creating mold
No, my,
without it. So this decision was based on logic and a conversation he had with Department of Safety.
Shouldn't we be
His
talking?
conversation was very different, John, than my conversation, and that's what it boils down to.
The thing I am concerned about is that a resident that's not actually required to install a mechanical fan because they have a two-family and they have the proper size window is being told that they must have one and have 30 days to do it. And if they don't do it, they lose their occupancy permit, which would cause great anxiety to me. And I might even be scared to go and contradict or to appeal it, thinking that I am going to lose my home or something, and just go out and borrow $6,000 or $5,000 or whatever it takes, could be $300 to install that fan. And I just want to make sure that we're not just testing the waters with the residents to see if they will install the fan or not.
No, there's
Right.
nothing being taken place that's arbitrary, intentional, or hurtful. It was all based on
Current knowledge at the time of the conversations.
Yeah,
New
it was a good
information
decision.
came today.
he had every right to make that decision under the law.
Anything else?
Had nothing.
Other? Did we exhaust ourselves of?
I think so.
No, I wanna kick this horse a couple, one more time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep,
What?
No, that wasn't nice.
motion to adjourn.
He said,
not
I wanna
this
There's
keep
even a
this-
second, Joe.
He said he was gonna kick the
There's no
horse one
second.
more time. I tried to adjourn
Well, he
before.
didn't
If there's any more.
he
No,
didn't
Joe-
interject
no
into
second.
it.
Joe?
All I want to say is that if we're using one person's, I wouldn't want Al signing the paperwork for a violation issued by your office. And it isn't, I say you when I say Al, it's one department and the other. All right? I would like to at least think about going forward, if the code enforcement department finds violations and they issue violations, that they should sign it. But that's not something we need to decide tonight, but I think it's something that I would like to say. I mean, I wouldn't want Al I wouldn't want the chief of police issuing things for you, or, I mean,
Since there's such a collaboration.
I
that
get
takes
it, I get it.
place,
I get it.
Like I said, I think it would be more confusing to a resident to get two notices that included the same thing.
I would like to see Al's code enforcement authority utilized on the form that you sent.
Well, like I said, I'll add some language to this, or change some language.
At least that people would know
So
that it
people
was coming
know-
out of the code
Yes,
enforcement
and that's what I
aspect
intend
of
to
this.
do.
I'm not saying anything bad about you or your decisions.
No, this is very educational. It's
I,
very good.
and as my last statement, I think Pat had the floor.
No, go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You forgot something. I never
A
heard a
second.
second.
Come on, somebody second it.
I didn't think you had to vote, second motion to adjourn, since
You
it's
could
non-debatable, I didn't think you voted on
You
it
can
either.
move, well, no, we could
How do you
vote.
get it to the floor, Catherine?
We could vote.
I don't believe
You have to
you.
move and second to get anything to the floor, don't you?
So, and again, I'll say, I didn't know we used Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, do we use Robert?
What other rules would we
We
use?
forgot to bring this up.
What other rules would we use?
Masons.
No, are we gonna do something?
The legislature uses Masons because under
What's
Robert's,
this?
the chair never votes unless there's a tie. He doesn't motion unless there's a tie.
Right,
Is
hold
the camera
on.
still on?
Joe, is the camera still on?
Yes, it is.
Can we just talk about this for 1 second?
Because this is
You don't want to
procedure.
talk about it with the camera on?
We did a public
One
one,
camera
public,
on?
Yep.
It doesn't really matter, it's just procedural.
Listen.